We're on, Soma.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call the board meeting to order. Good evening to everyone, the public, the staff, and my fellow board members. Our first order of business is the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're just going to take a minute to reboot the internet, so if anybody's on the system and you lose connectivity, don't worry, it'll be back up in a couple minutes.
Halfway through Game of Thrones.
Okay, the first item is the board agenda approval. Does anybody have any proposed changes to the agenda?
There was a request to move consent item 4.5 to act on it separately. So if we can just do it right after we do consent and vote on it separately. That's the approval of Enterprise Vehicle Master Lease Agreement.
Okay, so should we take the motion on that now or just do it when we get to that part
Well, you'll do the whole.
to remove?
No, because it's already done under that, we don't need a motion.
Okay, great. Okay, do we have any comments from employee organizations? Okay, Kai? We don't have a time limit, right? There's no time limit.
CUSD Board, Dr. Baker, Executive Cabinet, thank you for letting me speak. I know usually when I'm up here I talk about something political. I'll be talking about something somewhat political, although in a different vein. It's more of actually a public service announcement, really. As you know, we have a board election coming up in June, and because of the way that summer kind of for our teachers falls right in sort of the crucial months before the election, we're going to be holding an open forum for candidates to address our members at Garden Gate on April 30th at 4 o'clock. If there's candidates either here or out there in TV land, or internet land, I guess it is, who would like to come to this open forum, please email me, ceapres@me.com, ceapres@me.com. Or you can check our website, which is ceaweb.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Kai. Lisa?
Good evening. I am Lisa Laguna, Chapter President for CSEA. I have been an employee for CUSD for 18 years. I started with the district office and worked as a staff secretary there for 15 years. Over 3 years ago, I moved to Collins Elementary School, and I am currently a budget secretary now. When I started 18 years ago, I remember hearing complaints about school secretaries wanting their pay scale to be realigned, and today I hear the same complaints. The way it works now, a secretary's pay scale can be higher or lower than another secretary doing the same or very similar job. For example, there might be a budget secretary working alongside an attendance secretary, and one secretary is paid more than the other. I suggest the pay be realigned. CUSD has realigned the district office departments many times, but has failed the school secretaries. Secondly, the pay scale for school secretaries is low compared to surrounding school districts. In CUSD, school secretaries make a yearly salary of $42K to $44K. In surrounding school districts, salaries are paid approximately $70K. This has caused CUSD to lose many school secretaries this year. School secretaries are at the forefront of a school, interacting daily with teachers, parents, students, and administrators. They play such a vital role in each school and need to be compensated accordingly. On February 13, the board approved the salary increase for noon aides to $15 an hour. However, our general ed IA starts out at $14.14 an hour. We are all living and working in Silicon Valley, and we know how hard it is to survive here on a modest salary. I'm asking the board and superintendent to increase the salary scale so that we have a chance to retain our employees. Gratitude is a wonderful thing, but I feel like our employees rarely hear appreciation from staff or management. So I would like to thank the 540 CSEA members I represent for the work that they do for our schools. Thank you. I appreciate you. Lastly, I would like to invite the superintendent and the board to Collins and to other school sites to get to know us and the work we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Any other employee organizations? Okay, so we're going to move on to public comments. And for those of you who haven't been here before, I'm just going to review the guidelines. So first, we're going to listen to public comments on items that are not on the agenda. Anybody who submitted public comments for items that are on the agenda, we'll listen to those as they fall in the agenda. And at that point, I just want to tell you there are some iPads available here next to Renee. If you want to see the agenda, you can just grab an iPad, open it up, and it's open, Jeff, already to the agenda page.
Once they go onto Safari, yes.
Go onto Safari, and the agenda should be there if you want to grab an iPad. So we're going to
Grab
start.
it, but they have to give it back.
Yes, borrow, don't grab it. Kindly take an iPad and please do return it at the end of the evening. Okay, so we're going to listen to public comment. We have many speakers tonight, and so we're going to limit each person to two minutes, and Renee's going to keep time. And when you hear the beeping, that means your 2 minutes is up, so just do one more sentence or try to keep it under 2 minutes if possible. And I'm also going to try to tell you who's coming up next. So if you're the person who's coming up next, then try to be ready so we can keep it moving along, because we actually have enough that it's going to take a little over 30 minutes, but we're going to be okay. And then also, if I say your name wrong, I apologize in advance. Please correct me when you get to the podium. And also, because these are items that are not on the agenda, following the Brown Act, the board is not able to respond in any way to your comments, but we are appreciative that you're here and we do want to hear what you have to say. Okay, so first up, we have Sonia Z, and after Sonia Z, we have May Sammy. Yeah, so are you May Sammy? Yeah, please go ahead. What did you say about Sonia? She's not here yet? Oh, okay, sure, she can go next. Okay, your 2 minutes is starting now.
Hi, my name is May Sami. I'm an IA from Lawson Middle School. I believe that the use of electronics should be recognized as a new skills for IAs. And district should recognize that the IA's job should be classified. Over at Lawson, we use more than 10, 20 apps. The classes I go to, the students I have, they daily use many apps and electronics for their projects. Right now, we are doing a energy project in science and using Explain Everything app, and I'm helping my students with that. Before that, we used another Apple slide to do another project. We do all those things every day with students, helping them using the technology to learn better and faster and, be more productive. We use apps like, I wrote it down, but I don't know where, the Puffins, the Desmos for math, lots of those things. In language art, we use so many apps every day, almost every day. But Besides those things, those subjects, we also use it for organization and communication. I had a student who had hearing impairment, and although she had the FM system, she still needed some help when she couldn't hear the teacher. So I established a Google Doc that we shared, so we both could communicate at the same time. So I could help her, answer her question when she couldn't hear. So those things are like everyday project and everyday activity that we do. Unfortunately, we don't have very many.
Thank you, May.
Classes that we do not get training. That's why we are asking for reclassification. So hopefully we will get more training.
Thank you. Sonia? Yeah. And after Sonia, we're going to have Marjorie Jacobson. Are you here? Okay, good. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm here today because I want to talk about the timelines that we as IAs get. Recently, about the reclassification, we were given some time and we wrote, and we took enough time with everybody to write that reclassification. And then it was given to the district, and then we got the reply back. But when we got the reply back, we had to give the rebuttal in very less time. Me personally, I got it on Friday, and after that break started. So I did not even get to have that letter until the break was over. And after the break was over, Monday morning I got the letter, and then I had to give the rebuttal in by Wednesday, which was extremely difficult for me to do. And I wanted to do that badly. And I had to take out personal time, and I had to stay awake till 1 o'clock to really form this rebuttal, how I can reply back to the district that why I need this reclassification. And similar thing happened before when I was administratively transferred. I was just called, like August something, the school started, was 3 years back. And I was just called a day before at like 4:45, 5 o'clock district closes. And I was called at 4:45 in a phone call and said, you know what, you have been administratively transferred, and tomorrow you have to go to the new school. So I'm just wondering that why we are not being given enough timelines to reply back or to react or to do anything about whatever we go through on day-to-day basis. So in a nutshell, I'm looking forward to get some timelines properly so that we can reply back properly, whether be it administrative transfer or be it any rebuttal that we are doing right now for reclassification. So that's the only point I want to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Marjorie, and after Marjorie, we have Boryanka. Are you here? Okay, great.
Good evening, Board. I'm from Cupertino Middle School, Marjorie Jacobson. I'm a specialized instructional assistant. Our job as instructional assistants is to help the students in special education, which can be anything from reteaching to helping with behavior management to making copies for our teachers and everything in between. In my position at the middle school, I can be placed in mainstream or small group classes, which is to say that I can be placed in any of the 3 grade levels, any subject, any teacher, as needed. As new curriculum and technology have been brought in, we have not gotten the training nor the opportunity to learn or even get familiar with it before working with the students. Unlike the teachers, we don't master 2 subjects. We try to master all the subjects we are in, no matter the grade level, so that we can best support our students. In addition to supporting our students, there are several clerical duties that need to be done, such as preparing IEPs at a glance for our general ed teachers, updating current at a glances, and preparing high school at a glances, which are completely different from ours, for articulation. With a SPED program of over 120 students, these are just a couple of the duties that need to be done. But more importantly, it takes time away from our students because there's no time to complete them during the workday. We work the same hours as the students are in school, and we have no prep period. Aside from what we do on a daily basis, We are losing valuable instructional assistants to other districts offering better compensation and struggling to replace those we've lost because of our district's lack of competitive salary. We are a district in the heart of Silicon Valley. In a time of booming technology, we should, at the very least, be able to offer compensation worthy of qualified people to help our students in this highly competitive valley. And finally, having new administration in my school, I was concerned that I received a denial for reclassification solely upon looking at my request. There was no attempt at meeting with me or any of my coworkers to find out what it is we do on a daily basis. Our
Thank
school
you,
is
Marjorie.
very large. We have over 1,400 students.
Thank
And I know
you,
they're very busy.
Marjorie. Boryanka and then Purnima, are you here? Okay, great. And please try to keep your comments 2 minutes or under, because I want to make sure we get to everybody in the staff.
Dr. Baker, dear board, my name is Boriana Batmazian. I'm instructional assistant in Cupertino Middle School. This is my 7th year in Cupertino School District, my 20th year as an instructional assistant. I'm not shy to say that I'm one of not very few instructional assistants with master degrees. In order to not answer the question, what kept me 20 years at the maximum of $20 per hour, I'm gonna let you conclude what can keep me at the job that I did for 20 years, if not the love for the one that we are talking about, the kids. And we are not in the library. Instructional assistants don't keep offices. We are with the kids 7 periods every single day without prep, without training, which means we don't see the kids only when we are sick. Thank God, not very often, I hope. So I'm going to talk about the role of the instructional assistant is in the mainstream classes, where I personally think all special education students belong. They shouldn't be taken out of these small classes where they are separated from the kindergarten and put where every single mainstream student is, with the accordingly proper help, with the accordingly proper support. And here I keep asking how we can support these kids that we take out of the physics class and bring them in learning skills, where they open up and say, I don't understand what is the difference between weight and mass, and how we can explain them if we're not well prepared. We can be well prepared only if we take our own time to learn, or we are kept long enough so we learn together with the students for a long period of time. Our salaries are not competitive at all. We are losing people constantly. The new people that are coming are nice and good people, but they not necessarily are ready to step in and start helping the student in mainstream classes. And the last thing I would like to say, last year, without any proper warning, I was taken out of one school and put like a potato in another school to take care of a student who is disabled, and I absolutely
Thank you, Boryanka.
appreciate
Thank you.
this. But I was the only one that has
Thank
a
you.
medical condition that cannot push the wheelchair.
So
maybe the district should.
We have Purnima, and then next we have Varsha. Are you here? From Dilworth? Okay, so after her. Okay, Purnima, go ahead.
Hello, respected members of the board. My name is Purnima Dilip, and I'm an instructional assistant specialized at Cupertino Middle School. I'm here to give you a glimpse of our daily life at school and put forth my concerns. The IAs form an integral part of any school site. We are about 235 IAs in the district, many of us with accomplished degrees to our credit. We perform a wide range of duties. We work closely with most challenging students and are often exposed to physical and verbal abuse. Our job description is so generalized that it encompasses everything under the sun, right from managing student behavior to creating IEPs at a glance and to teaching them concepts in Common Core, algebra and science. We also navigate through a sea of technological applications without being trained on any, neither Common Core nor technology. However, we are expected to deliver with minimal resources and no training. We have no prep time, so our learning happens at our own time. So we are not compensated for any of this. For all that we do, our salary is trivial. We are, in fact, the lowest paying district in the entire county. With the cost of living going up on a daily basis, it becomes difficult to make ends meet. We're also seeing many IAs leaving the district for better prospects. In fact, we had applied for reclassification, in which we put forth the amount of work and time that goes into coming prepared to help the kids. So they succeed, but our claims were denied without proper communication. Our request was denied without even an informal conversation to understand what we exactly do on a daily basis. To summarize, I request the board to look into better compensation for IAs, meaningful training that will help us better serve our kids, and an open conversation where we feel comfortable to express our views. Thank you.
Thank you, Purnima. Next up, we have Varsha Kher, and then after her, we have Matstone Mehdi. I can't read the rest. It's all. Okay. Are you here? Okay, great.
You can give it to her, then she can.
She'll give it to everyone.
So you can go speak.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Firstly, I would like to thank the members of board for listening to our concerns. I'm representing the IAs at Dilworth Elementary School. Due to the changing working conditions and requirements, we have recently submitted a reclassification request from range 411 to 438, which is currently under review. We believe the current pay structure is not reflective of our rigorous work environment of IAs and not competitive with the neighboring school districts. Most of us have worked at Dilworth over 10 to 15 years. Over the years, we have witnessed the increasing severity of the incoming students. The increasing severity has also increased the hazards of our workplace. The students' erratic behavior results physically hazardous situations daily. We regularly experience pain from students biting, kicking, scratching, pulling hair, throwing objects across the classroom. We have accepted this for years as a part of our job and prioritized the students over our own health and safety. However, the increase in severity has only made our job more and more hazardous and physically and emotionally demanding. In addition to day-to-day challenges, the increasing severity of students' conditions results in more difficult substitute recruitment. This means the IAs are often stretching beyond the realms of their regular responsibility to take charge of lesson planning and lead the classroom activities in absence of substitutes. Not only we deal with the increasing number of challenging students, but we also work hard to ensure each student experiences a supportive and superior learning environment. But it looks like the district has not acknowledged the hardship we go through. As you look at the pay scales of the neighboring districts, we are underpaid. The district has increased the pay scale of CAP program by more than 30%, and we have similar duties and deserve the higher pay as well. This pay discrepancy has resulted in many of our special ed IAs joining the CAP program. I hope the board member present on our behalf to the district, asking them to acknowledge the hard work and the dedication we put forth every day working with the challenging students by raising our pay scale to the comparable level as CAP and neighboring district. Thank you.
Thank you, Varsha. Okay, we have Mastone, and then is Anu Deshmukh here? Okay, you'll be next. Okay, sorry if I said your name wrong.
That's okay, you said it right. Hi,
Okay.
my name is Mastane. I'm an IA specialized working for Kennedy Middle. I started 2011 working as a substitute, and just this year I become permanent. So when I started as a substitute, I thought, I think I started with, my salary was, I think 14 something or $15. And for a few years I worked, and it's really hard to manage with this salary, especially that I was recently divorced and with 2 kids. So and then they dropped the salaries, they reduced it. I went back to school, got my degrees, came back and worked at Kennedy again, because the reason I'm working is because I care about kids. I want to have, this is a meaningful job for me. I could do anything else. But the reason I'm here is because I want to help, and I want to help kids. It's really important for me. So, as many of my colleagues mentioned, the job comes with a lot of hazards and without training. So the teachers comes and throw out a new lesson, and right then and then we have to learn with kids. We don't have preparation time. I don't want to be redundant, but whatever my colleagues say, I'm just mentioning it again. But one thing I want to mention is a lot of my colleagues have two income household. But for a person who on a single salary, it's really tough to manage. And one more thing I was gonna say is like, I don't even have health insurance through district, because if I wanna get health insurance, easily 1/4 of my salary would go for health insurance. So I'm on Obamacare. So I wanted to ask whoever is responsible that please consider a pay raise. I don't know, is reclassification or whatever, and also do something about insurance, or otherwise you're gonna lose your employees.
Thank
also,
you,
there is no
Masune.
substitute. When we call for substitute, there is nobody.
Thank
So-
you. Okay. So next, Anu, and I see Danielle is here. You still here? Okay, so you'll be next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anu Deshmukh, and I'm a specialized aide at Ragnart Elementary School. I've been working with this district for the past 16 years. I'm here today to present the case for reclassification. Relative to the job duties published in 2009, our job duties have expanded significantly over the past few years, but our salaries have been stagnant. Our maximum hourly rate is $21.71, while for comparison, Santa Clara pays as high as $26.61, and Palo Alto pays $26.28. With the high cost of living in the Bay Area, the salaries should have adjusted years ago. I wanted to share with you some examples of the expanded job duties. For instance, in language arts, we have been leading and teaching lessons using the Soul to Success Teachers Resource Manual. In math, we have been teaching grade level Common Core math without any training. Regarding technology, a lot has changed since 2009 when our new contract was written. Many new apps have been used, which we have to learn first before we teach our students. With regards to the student population, the kind of students placed in our mild moderate program has also changed. I have seen some severe kids requiring CAP services being placed in our class. So now we are working with these kids at a lower pay than CAP. Instead of paying us our fair salary, the district is wasteful in spending money on new technology every 2 years needlessly. For example, at my school alone, within a span of 6 years, we first had the big iMac computers, which were then replaced by iMac laptops, and now we have iPads. Prior to these changes, we were using Google Chromebooks, which worked fine. But they decided to switch them with Apple equipment. Surely we don't need such expensive Apple equipment and changes done so frequently. In conclusion, I humbly request the board to seriously consider our appeal for reclassification. Thank you.
Thank you, Anu. After Danielle, we'll hear from Michelle Moran. Are you here? Is Michelle here? Okay, great. Okay, Danielle.
I'm a teacher, so I'll speak loud. I'm Danielle Tucker.
I think we need you to be in front of the microphone because it records. Thank you.
Well, I'm a teacher, I'll speak loud. I'm here to speak on behalf of units of study, and I do a lot of hard work, but instead I have some other people who would like to show you who are doing the hardest work. Oh, is the volume not working? Thank you.
And like informational writing. Now I can write like 5 and 6 pages.
And what part of writing do you think is the most helpful?
I think opinion writing is the most helpful because it helps you express your thoughts about like what you believe in.
What kinds of tools do you use to become a better writer?
I use checklists, I use rubrics, I posters that tell me like what to do and like sentence starters for me to use. Oh well, at the beginning of the day I didn't know even how to write. So the title's very lessons about how to get more creative or how to like let all of your ideas out and to write everything that you know out. Well, my favorite unit is the informational writing because you can write about whatever you want. And all the information that you ever had in your head can just go out.
5 more seconds.
Yeah, because you need to write a lot in all of those subjects.
So, is it hard work? Yes. It's good work, it's valuable work, and it's working. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. After Michelle, we're going to hear from Christina Kulkarni. Are you here?
I'm here.
Okay. Wait, what about Michelle?
She's here.
Oh, and you're Christina.
I'm Christina.
Perfect. You'll save time. Okay, go for it.
Hi, my name is Michelle Moran, and I'm a 4th grade teacher at Nimitz Elementary School. And we're here to speak on behalf of the reading curriculum, units of study. And it's come to our knowledge that I've been a teacher here for the past 4 years, and we haven't had a Common Core aligned reading program since then. So I feel strongly about implementing units of study. Christina and I work as a grade level team, and so we had the opportunity to essentially pilot and try out this program with our students this year. And some of the things that we found out was that it's a very rigorous program, and we can use it to provide differentiation for our students. And looking at our staff meeting from last week, we were able to gather some data from the ELA cadre about the other possible units. And we found, based on that data, that all the other units that are proposed have fallen short in terms of standards alignment, program organization, assessment, universal access, teacher and planning support, and also ELD. So again, based on my experience with units of study reading curriculum and also based on the data, I don't think that we should be spending another year waiting to implement a formal program for our elementary school district.
And to build on Michelle's statement about adopting our new curriculum for reading, I think it's vital, as she said, it's vital for our district to make a decision sooner than later. Our current curriculum, if you look in the textbook, its copyright date is 2003, when we were in middle school still. And when we've been teaching here for 4 years. So we have gone too long without an updated curriculum, and it's impacting us as teachers and our students. I too have had experience, as she mentioned, kind of piloting the curriculum, and I've seen the benefits of it. I think it's best for us as a district to move forward with the best option that's out there as soon as possible, which is the units of study, teaching and reading curriculum. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Michelle and Christina. Next up, we have Megan Simpson. Are you here? Okay, and then after Megan, Jason Edwards.
Hi, I'm Megan Simpson. I am a teacher at Stockelmeyer Elementary School, but today I am reading a letter written by one of our veteran teachers, Barbara Roget. Everyone wants to feel valued and appreciated, especially teachers. I write to you to ask for your help in showing your teachers that we are valued employees. The most direct way to show this is by providing your employees with a competitive wage. Words are easy. I'm asking you to dig down deep and find a way to financially compensate your teachers for the ever-increasing responsibilities they shoulder every day in one of the most expensive regions to live in California. To put this in perspective, I'll use my place on the salary schedule as an example. I have worked for this district since 1996. Currently, I'm on step 15 of Class E. My base salary is $92,417. By looking at several districts, I have discovered that I could be making as much as $116,000 per year. Now, most districts have a limit on the number of years of experience they will transfer when hiring. If I were to get hired by Santa Clara Unified, I would only get placed on step 12. Interestingly, even by being demoted 3 steps, I would still make $113,000 per year, which is approximately $20,000 more per year. Step 9 on Santa Clara's salary schedule is equivalent to Step 15 on Cupertino's salary schedule. If I were to get hired by Saratoga Union, I would only get credit for Step 12 and would still make $10,000 more per year. To recap, I would be placed lower on the salary schedule in both Santa Clara and Saratoga and still make significantly more money per year. In order to retain quality teachers, you must offer a competitive wage. By making the salary schedule more in line with other districts and adding additional columns to the certificated schedule, you will retain qualified teachers and show us we are valued. Please give us what we need to stay in Cupertino.
Thank you, Megan. Jason? And after Jason, we'll hear from Christina Ernst. Are you here? Yes. Okay, great.
Good evening. My name is Jason Edwards, and I am a second grade teacher at Stockholmeyer Elementary School in my 5th year in CUSD. As a veteran teacher in more than one California public school district and at several international schools, I am becoming distraught at how difficult it is to survive on my teacher's salary here in the United States. Far too often, I have been forced to consider living in my car or leaving the country. The fact is that I could not possibly afford to teach at my current school without having roommates, which makes me feel like I am going backwards in life. My salary has actually gone down recently due to higher health care coverage. This makes me feel like the only benefits I have are related to me getting sick, not living. The average rent anywhere near the school I teach at is more than half my monthly salary. Without a wealthy partner, I can't see how anyone is able to survive off of our current salaries. The local economy is considered to be one of the most expensive areas in the world. In my almost 5 years in this district, I have actually been laughed at by prospective renters due to my low take-home pay. I am concerned with how we hold our board accountable for our current situation. Initially, I read a Mercury News article indicating that our district will be $3 million in the hole this school year, and about a week later, that number went to a $10 million deficit. How can a school district in one of the richest and most expensive places in the world not have enough money to run its schools? Where is the money? Why do we have to have so many employees working as executives for the district, making substantially more than the professionals who work with children daily? The extensive administrators, including TOSAs, who are frequently pulled for meetings and replaced with substitutes, must cost a fortune. We should be better informed as a community and as professionals. Our district should be working closer with the city, county, state, and local companies to ensure the sustainability of our excellent schools and staff. Lunches should be healthier and more appetizing. School facilities should be more modern, materials and computers should be better, and teachers should be paid a livable wage that doesn't depend on us having second and third jobs, or if we're lucky, a partner who pays all the bills. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Jason. So we have Christina, and I see Melissa. You're next. Okay, Jason, Christina.
Hi, my name is Christina Ernst. I teach second grade at Lincoln School. This is my 26th year at Lincoln. As a product of the Cupertino School District myself, attending Ragnart and Kennedy, I am a member of the English Language Arts cadre, who I was on the writing team, who looked at the units of study writing, piloted it, and have been implementing it for the last couple of years at my school. My students love the writing program. Every day when it's time for writing, there's a big buzz in the classroom when it's time to pull your folders out, and on those occasional days where we have many things going on and we can't do writing, and they say, "What about writing today, Mrs. Ernst?" And I say, "Oh, we don't have time to do a writing workshop today." They say, "Aw." It's quite telling to me. As 7- and 8-year-olds in second grade, they're able to tell you the difference between narrative writing, informational writing, opinion writing. They use checklists to edit their own work, and they're very proud of their work. I'm also currently still part of the cadre that looked at the reading programs, the 4 programs that we vetted. And at this point, I just really feel that it's time for us to move forward with our pilot. And as they said before, it's been since 2003. We are using outdated materials. It's time for us to move forward, pilot the units of study program, and have the teachers really look at it with a critical eye and make decisions on if this is the right program for our CUSD students. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina and Melissa, and then last, Marianne Cunningham.
Hi, I'm Melissa Hickman, and I have been teaching for 27 years at Blue Hill School. I have taught kindergarten, first, second, third, and fourth, and I'm currently teaching a 1-2 combination class. I also was on the cadre with Christina over the last 7 years, and I was with the team when we vetted and looked at the units of study writing, and was very excited to get this started in my classroom. And at that point, I was teaching 4th grade, and I remember before, when I would say it's time to write, we'd pull out the step up to writing, and we'd talk about the different dots, and the kids would go, ugh, we have to write again. Now, when I say it's time for Writer's Workshop, they quickly move to the floor to where we do our lesson, and they quickly get started on writing back at their seats. It's all individualized. Every single child can grow in their writing. It's amazing what I've seen them do throughout the 4 years we've been using that program. So I was very excited when I was part of the team to vet and look at the different reading series, because as we have said, the reading that I think in my 27 years, I think I've had 3 different series. So it's time to move forward. And when we looked at all the series, we were very surprised that how none of them fit with what we want to do in Cupertino, as well as the units of study in reading. It goes perfectly with our writing program. It is exciting and engaging for the students. I was lucky enough to be at a school where the principal asked us if we would like to go ahead and buy the materials and get started. And almost every single teacher, we have 3 teachers who did not choose to do it. So I've been using it this year. My kids are excited. It fits with the writing. And I think we just need to go ahead and pilot that next year. Thank you.
Marianne Cunningham.
Marianne Cunningham. I go to teach at Stockholmeyer 3rd grade. So talking about, I've been teaching 17 years. When I decided to become a teacher, actually my brother, who's older, wanted to be a teacher, and my parents wouldn't pay for college because he could never support a family by being a teacher. Me, it didn't matter. I was a girl. I was going to get married, so it didn't matter. There'd be a second income. Well, I do provide for my family. I am the sole provider for my family, and I do have a special needs son that I might be providing for a long time. So when I look at the pay scale, I'm really concerned about it. I heard a lot of your speeches that you've done online and recorded, so I really see that you're saying that you want to give teachers a raise. Wondering how you can give all these people a raise, because we also have the IAs now asking for a raise. Everyone probably asking for raises, because we haven't had them in so long. So the one thing I come to, I think you're getting there. You're going to give us a raise, I hope. The percentage is maybe what it will be. Hopefully it's a worthwhile percentage. At the same time, I think the Me Too clause, where the people, the executives at the administration level, that they're not part of that raise. And that's one way to save money, and that will close the income gap. There's a big gap for what's paid at the district level compared to what's paid at the teacher level. So that's one issue. And then everyone else, I know you're all excited about units of study, but I'm going to put it out as the other issue. I am not as excited about units of study, and that I see our lower kids not succeeding with it necessarily. And that it keeps that gap. They're forever reading at their level. They're forever writing at their level, not really bringing their level up to the grade level standards. Common Core was meant to be writing across all curriculum areas, and instead we're kind of writing about one genre per trimester, dictated by the schedule that's put out by the Calkins. So I do hope you pilot another program. I know when the cadre met together, they looked at 4 programs. That was back in 2015. There's so many new programs you can look at that are rated really highly. It doesn't just have to be from those 4 that they looked at.
Thank you, Marianne. Okay, we'll be moving to the consent items now. Can I get a motion?
I move,
Yeah.
I move 4.1 to 4.4.
Can I get a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Renee passes with a 5-0. Anjali moved and Phyllis second. 4.5?
So I was the one who asked that we do this separate because I feel like this is something that we're doing new, so we should kind of make sure that, I don't remember, maybe Phyllis may recall that we have leased cars in the past or vehicles, master lease for vehicles. So I just thought, I'm not opposed to it or anything, but I thought we should kind of pull it aside and just make sure that we all have looked at it and are good with it.
Thanks for bringing that up. Do you have anything to say about that, Craig, or?
So I don't know, since it's actually now in an action item, because
Yeah.
we pulled it, I don't know if you want to do a first and a second, and then we'll discuss it, just.
Okay.
I like to move.
You move 4.5 for Anjali? Okay, do I have a second?
I second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, now we can talk about it.
I would like more information about the lease too. I read about it and the amounts of money and so on, but I don't know. I'd like to hear some opinions about whether it's indeed the best thing for us.
Chris, do you want to speak to it?
Yes, please. To address some of the questions that I've heard from the board, yes, it is. It's a new procurement method that we are embarking on, whereas in the past, when the district had a need to purchase vehicles, whether it be a yellow bus or a white maintenance truck, in the past, we've elected to either buy new or buy used. But as part of the backup for the item tonight is just acknowledging that the reality is that we have a lot of older vehicles. We have vehicles that I think go back to the 95 year, a lot of miles on them, and in some regards, we're actually paying more to manage those vehicles, run them on the road, whereas there's some opportunities now where what we can take advantage of acquiring newer vehicles, reducing our maintenance costs, reducing our costs to fuel the vehicles, and have the ability to take the equity still in the value of the trucks and the vehicles, and within a short period of time, maybe within 4 to 5 years, be able to resell those on the open market and be able to put that down on the next installment of additional vehicles. I think in the handout, there was a projected overall savings of about $210,000 potentially for ultimately replacing all of our vehicles. But tonight, as part of the master lease agreement tonight, staff is only bringing forward a recommendation to replace, I think, 6 vehicles, because those were the vehicles that needed the most attention. But again, I just want to remind the board that this is just another mechanism for procuring vehicles, whereas in the past we've always bought and owned. And what has happened is always our maintenance staff, our people that maintain our vehicles do such a great job in maintaining those vehicles. These vehicles are still on the road today, and they have probably got well over 200,000 miles on them. And unfortunately, we do on occasion have to continue to invest money into those vehicles to keep them running. So this is just an opportunity for us to actually replace those vehicles, and at the same time, we could lower our overall operating costs over a period of time.
Thank you, Chris. Any further discussion on this item?
I have one more question.
Sure.
So when you talk about a $200 and some odd saving, that's a savings over what? Over what we're currently paying for repairs, or compared to if we bought them, or where does, explain the savings?
Actually, I'm gonna introduce our guest from Enterprise, Janelle Anderson. Do you mind coming up and just talking a little bit about that?
I can tell you where that 200 comes from. Thank you. So the 200,000 is what we did is we took your last year's maintenance costs, last year's fuel costs, and then the average acquisition cost to get a base of what you guys are paying when it comes to your vehicles. And then what we did, just as a first round of examples, and it is in the synopsis that we put together for you guys. It just shows the roll-on of the vehicles, so that 200,000 is over the course of 10 years if you were to keep the exact same fleet that you guys have right now. Right now we have 54 vehicles in your fleet, but what happens a lot of times, we work with a lot of school districts, specifically in this area as well. And what we find is a lot of times we can actually defleet, and that savings is even more than that 200,000, because you now have reliable vehicles that you're replacing maybe every 10 years or every 5, 6, or 7 years, really depending on where the recommendations comes in. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Anjali. I'm still kind of concerned that if the $200,000 savings over 10 years, does this also include the buses, or this is just the white?
This is just the white fleet, not including the buses.
And so I'm really uncomfortable doing this because I think that, yeah, this is a great way to go, but do we truly save? So it's like $20,000 savings a year if you average it out. So is that what, and not owning the vehicle, usually, on a personal level, if you own a vehicle, you get more out of it than when you lease it. So I'm kind of lost in that dilemma. So I don't know how everybody else feels, but that's just me.
I had maybe a quick clarifying question.
Sure.
So it's an equity lease, so it's not a traditional net lease that you may be thinking of from a dealership. So it's a slowed finance. So in one of the examples, you have a $24,000 vehicle. Rather than a traditional finance where you're going to finance it down to zero, we're going to finance it down to $4,500. And so you still own the vehicle, you still have ownership in the vehicle, but we know at the end of 5 years with 25,000 miles on it, we can actually sell that vehicle for $12,000. So you still have equity in the vehicle, you still own the vehicle. It's not a net lease that a lot of people are used to where you're going to turn the vehicle back in.
So that's where you're saying that you have equity, because you said something in your statement, Chris, where you said that you can still sell the vehicle, and that was also confusing. So it's like, so you're taking out a loan?
No.
No?
Well, your finance, essentially, yes. We're helping you finance the vehicle rather than paying cash. So a good example is, right now, if you guys were to replace, say, one vehicle, you'd be spending anywhere between $30,000 and $40,000. Where 6 vehicles, it's that same exact cost for an annual cost. And so now, because you're replacing 6 vehicles versus 1 with the same amount of money, you're now taking your biggest 6 offenders of fuel degradation. The vehicles that we're replacing are 38 years old. So the fuel economy is probably not great on that. And also the biggest maintenance offenders as well. So now you're able to lower your maintenance and fuel costs because you're now replacing 6 vehicles instead of the normal 1.
So would this also impact the maintenance staff? So would that mean that we wouldn't need that much maintenance staff? Would that be another source of saving?
Well, I mean,
or are they maintaining the vehicles for us, or are we still maintaining them?
We have options. We have the option to maintain the vehicles. I mean, there's going to still be a level of maintenance, oil changes, and things like that, but nothing any larger than that, because some of the vehicles at this stage of the game, we're replacing transmissions, replacing engines, and going through several sets of tires. So those are the costs that we are probably going to avoid by only owning these vehicles for a short period of time. So our maintenance staff has the ability to do those ongoing repairs, or we could obviously allow Enterprise to do that work, and it will enable our mechanics to spend all their time on maintaining our bus fleet, and that is just as a big of a priority for us.
So do they come with warranties? Do these vehicles come with some sort of warranty where we don't have to have our people fix them?
So it has the regular warranty that a normal vehicle is going to. There is an optional maintenance program that Enterprise can help provide. It's really up to the district of whether you want to include that in the option or not.
And we're not proposing that. We're proposing to continue to do our own maintenance.
So I have a couple of comments. One, we have a long agenda, and this isn't one item. It's important, but I think that we should figure out as a board, are there questions that we have that we can specifically ask that could give us more clarity on whether this is a savings or not. And then the second thing is, I think that Chris was saying, this is 6 vehicles, but did you say we have 55 in our fleet? So one thing too is to try this 1 year with these 6 vehicles and then see how that goes, because if it's successful, then we could go with the other 49 vehicles. But if it's not, we don't do it anymore. So that's an option. We're not replacing our whole fleet right now. So.
Right, but this is a contract for 6 years.
For
It's
si-
not.
yeah, for
it
these
is-
6 vehicles, right,
But it
yeah.
is a long-term, it's
Right.
not just a 1-year
Right,
tryout.
right.
Because it is something that we're getting, and is it that the direction we feel comfortable as taking the district to? I understand we have lots on our agenda, but
Right.
at the same time, as a board, it is also our responsibility to be physically responsible.
Right.
And so this is the only time we as a board
Right.
can discuss these
Yeah,
items.
okay.
And so,
So since
and
it
we
is
have-
our job to be fiscally
Right.
responsible, I think that if we can save money, and $210,000 is money, right, that we can save. So I think I'd want to try it.
I'm not convinced that this is the best way to go. I would like to table it, and I would like to have an opportunity to meet with Chris before our next meeting and I have some more questions.
Okay, so instead of each of us individually meeting with Chris, we'll ask the questions and then Chris can talk to us.
Well, maybe it would be good if we just have a presentation maybe at the
Okay.
next meeting, just to give us a little bit more in-depth about this
Okay.
program, about
And I
our
will-
fleet.
And I'll
we can-
email my questions to Chris.
Okay, okay. So,
So I will take the motion back, or how do we
no,
do that?
no, we just,
We just let it die.
We just let it die, okay.
wait, how does it die?
Well, I mean, that's up to you. If 3 of you want to vote for it, I'm suggesting
Okay.
also that we just bring it back to more detailed explanation and comparison.
Okay.
And then present it.
Okay.
To
I think,
you all.
and I agree, I think that in order for the motion to die, you need a new motion. So we just move to table it. That's what,
Move to the next time when you can present.
right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't,
I'm just saying, if you don't take action on it here, then
Yeah.
it just
Then it
dies.
dies.
Okay.
So you could just move on if everybody agrees.
I
we
haven't
bring it
heard
back.
from Liang and Kristen. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'd like more information.
I actually fine with that. I feel this is not the first time we lease something like our iPad. We also do the lease, and the purpose is try to save more money on our budget. And it is, I agree, it's a little trial for 6 vehicles compared to another 49. But I also I only have one question about this, is like if Chris have ever explored about the financing option, because
On your vehicle, you mean?
yes, like okay, if we have a 5 years financing or 6 year financing directly from the dealer, what the number will be. So that's my only question. But overall, I support the saving plan.
Okay, well, it looks like it's gonna die if I can do the math, so we'll just bring it back. Okay, so next we're gonna move on to the information items. And the first information presentation we have is Energy Management Program Update. So who would like to start on that?
Setting up for Kevin.
Okay. And do we have any cards on this item? Okay.
The only one we have is at 6.1.
Okay, great, okay.
When we get to that, I'll give that to you.
Okay, great.
We like our pirate.
I was hoping for this.
Is that right?
Since the last time you came in costume, you're the only person who has since last time.
What costume?
What kind?
Yeah, this is my everyday wear.
Sorry, excuse me, apologize.
These people are in costume.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the keyboard off. There it is.
We're not competitive. Okay, I can just use this.
Yeah.
Try to get 6.1 and then take
Go for it.
I was gonna say at 7:30, but sure, let's do that.
First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Captain Kilowatt, and I'm an energy manager. And as I'm an energy pirate. I got it backwards. But all pirates like to find buried treasure. Well, my buried treasure is not diamonds, gold, or jewels. It's wasted energy. It's much more valuable than those other things. So as an energy pirate, I find as much wasted energy as possible. My other name is actually Kevin Jenkins. I'm the Cupertino Union School District Energy Manager. And good evening, board members, superintendent, executive committee. The purpose of my presentation tonight is to give you an update on the district's energy management program and how our successes. So tonight we'll be talking about some district information, the energy management program history, our performance, how does it work, and what we're working on now and what's in the future. So these are just some statistics everybody knows a little bit, but I wanted to give you an idea of our annual spend. We actually condition approximately 1.5 million square feet of building space. Our annual total spend for the calendar year, January through December of 2017 for all utilities is 3.1 million. I had a correction for that. I actually saw this afternoon that I had the wrong fiscal year. Obviously our fiscal year is July through June of 2016 to 17. So the 3.5 million number is actually 3 million, which lines up with the current, the calendar year. So the program history. Back in 2005, the district signed a contract with a company called Energy Education, Inc., which is now called Synergistic, to help develop the energy management program. So the base year is 2004, and I'll explain why that's important. Energy manager was hired August of 2005. Our first performance year began October of 2005. The reason for that is when you have a program like this to analyze your successes or measure it, on a utility basis, you have to have at least 12 months of data. So October 2005 is the beginning of our performance year because the district had collected the previous 12 months of utility information to compare it to. So our actual performance year is October through the following September. The board policies I'm mentioning is the green school operation and of course the energy management, water management. The green school operations is something I'm working on for moving forward that I'll explain in some of our future projects. So our latest performance year, total of cost avoidance. Oh, by the way, I want to make sure you understand, all my numbers from here on are comparing our success to our base year. So that's how we have to do it. It's bringing it forward, so we're comparing apples to apples, not apples to oranges. So our cost avoidance over the last performance year, which is October 2016 through September of 17, is $1.4 million in avoided utility cost, which is roughly a 32% reduction compared to the base year. As you can see, electricity is pretty much most of our cost on the avoidance, and this is what we would avoided through it. This gives you an idea. First of all, I have a energy cap database. I know it's kind of tough to read, but this is the same performance year, and it just ranks the schools by percentage of what they've avoided. So it gives us a baseline. We've been looking at this. I use it as a way to think what are schools below. Our goal is to get as many schools up to the 30% level. We've got a few obviously below that, but we work on trying to see why they're not saving more, what are issues for them. Sometimes it's construction, other things that are impacting their savings. Overall program results. So again, I mentioned before that October 2005 was the beginning of our performance year. So this is from October 2005 through September of 2017. Our total avoided utility cost has been $11.1 million. And again, the breakdown gives you an idea what in electricity, natural gas, and the other utilities. But again, electricity is most of it. The last numbers here is I wanted to give you an idea of what the equivalent numbers would be in greenhouse gas reduction. There's all kinds of utility numbers and acronyms, but for the general public, it doesn't make sense. This gives you an idea that this is equal to taking off almost 3,600 cars in a year off the road. Or if we had planted 442,000 trees over the last 10 years. That's the reduction in the greenhouse gases from our program. Sorry for the size again, but this just gives you an overall view of our program and how the schools have performed over the time. So how does the energy management program work? 21 of our 25 sites are on what's called an energy management system. So through my computer, I can control most of the exterior lighting and most of the HVAC units and put them on schedules so they are off after school, on weekends, or when we have a break or any holiday. So we're shut down, as we call it. The other thing we do is that when we have a break of a week or more, we have 4 of them, spring break, Christmas, Thanksgiving, that, we have energy shutdowns. So I email all of the staff asking them to prepare their workspace, their copy rooms, the admin office for a shutdown. That means closing your window blinds, removing items from your large and small refrigerators, cleaning them out, unplugging them, copiers, and any items which draw energy. Then that weekend, before the break, I go out and I make sure that all of the items are turned off that I've just talked about, as well as all the gas and electric water heaters we turn off and turn down. As you can see, I'm not a conformist with this outfit. So when I first started, the energy management program, to me, was based on negativity. I was supposed to go out and audit. It was 3 or 4 pages of carbon copy. I was supposed to mark it up and then go into the principal's office and tell them, this room had a door open. This room had their lights on and there was nobody there. Well, I wanted to turn it around because, as we know, I think if you not reward, but recognize people what they're doing, they appreciate it more. So over the break now, I go out and on the items that, such as the large refrigerators, in the common areas, not the individual classrooms, if a school shuts down 70% or more of those items, then I made this little card and they become an Energy Star for that week. Our last shutdown, we had 23 out of the 25 schools become Energy Stars. The amazing thing to me is schools, secretaries, principals are very competitive. And so when I come out with this, I actually present it as my Captain Kilowatt. And they want to take pictures and put it on their Facebook, or they send emails to each other, did you get a visit from the captain? So it's a fun way because my job is numbers. And it gets old. It gets tiring when you're talking about percents and all that. So tried to bring it a little more humor and fun to it, and hopefully they get it. And then if I get the administration office to buy in, hopefully it trickles down to the staff as well. So that's why the site participation is also part of the energy management program, as well as maintenance and operation. I don't do it by myself. I mean, our HVAC techs with their preventive maintenance on the units, it makes them more efficient, which means we save energy. Our electricians, plumbers, and maintenance personnel, I work with a lot of them to make sure that the lights are repaired, or if the lights are on, I get calls from schools, our lights are on because of the programming. So we work together to make sure things are shut off. You know, it's funny, when I started, people always said you can't save money and be comfortable. That's not the program. The program is just to make sure we don't waste energy. We have to condition the classrooms for our students to learn and our teachers to teach. If it's too cold or too hot, that distracts from them. What we're trying to do is just make sure when we don't need a space, let's not have the energy on. This I wanted to show you kind of the effect of a shutdown. The top slide, excuse the tininess, this is a PG&E website that I can go on and take down 15-minute increments of each day at a school site. So this is Eaton. This is the week before the shutdown. The number I want you to look at is on the far left-hand side. It's kilowatt hours. So that's the week school's in session. If you look at the peak, again, remember this is 15-minute increments, so it's tight. But the peak there was 24 kilowatt hours. And they had other things. This is the week of the shutdown. Now look at the left-hand side. You're at 6 kilowatt hours as the highest peak. And everything else is down. The rest of this are our computer rooms at the schools, the fire alarm system, the phones, clocks, that are on timers. Those things I can't shut down. But, and then if there's a spike, sometimes, of course, they had an event where somebody used the GLC for something, they used energy. So, our future, and somewhat current. Some of you might have heard about Proposition 39. That is a program or a proposition from the state that they gave us, or not gave us. We had to qualify for money that was earmarked for energy measures only. I can't use it for anything else, retrocommissioning software, things like that. It has to fit within a savings to investment ratio. So we had to file what was called an energy efficiency plan with the California Energy Commission. We have been approved for $3.8 million. We're working on that to do a combination of replacement of HVAC units that are old, as well as upgrading lights to LEDs on the exterior. We have gyms with 400 watt metal halides that we want to upgrade. They're old and they use a lot of energy. So we're going to upgrade and cut some of our energy quite a bit. I'm always looking at rate analysis, evaluation of utility invoices. I do that on a monthly basis. One thing that's exciting is Silicon Valley Energy Watch is a new, if you call it a company. The California Public Utility Commission is now allowing communities to band together. So there's 12 communities that have banded together and they purchase the power. There's two components to your utility bill, transportation and cost of energy. We now get most of our schools, not the ones in San Jose, get our energy cost from this conglomeration, if you call it that. They guaranteed a 1% savings over our first year. We just got a notice that PG&E is about to raise their rates. Now they're saying the savings will be about 6%. So I've been tracking this. I'll continue to track it just to verify that we are saving the money. I'm always doing evaluations on energy savings. Solar, battery storage is a new technology. It's high cost. I come with a business background, so I want to make sure every dollar I spend of taxpayer money is not wasted on something. So we want to make sure we get a good return on our investment before we jump into anything. And people always ask me about solar. Why don't we have it? As a business person, we want to make sure that all of our schools are energy efficient as possible, because what will happen is they come out and look at your load, they size your solar system to fit your load. If then you do energy efficiency, now your system's oversized, and I know of school districts that went out, did all solar, then they put in LED lights, then now they technically are losing money. Plus, you think about it, we don't have the parking lots that you have at a high school. So we can't do the canopies. Honestly, I'm also thinking about our neighbors, and if you're across the street from one of our schools, we'll have to work on, well, if we do solar, it'll be a small system anyway, but I want to make sure that we're energy efficiency as possible before we even entertain that. Identify efficiency projects. I'll be real brief. We're actually doing a study right now on everything. It's called HVAC filters. I met a company that they claim their filters will last twice as long as your conventional filter. We've been doing a study at West Valley, because then I'll do the analysis to see if the cost of those filters, while they're $1 or more, but will save us in the long run because they'll last twice as long, which saves maintenance from the HVAC techs, the time to pick them up, they deliver them right to the school. All of these factor into the cost. Energy management system, real quick on that, is that's where I control things. I control the HVAC, and we've been doing a test case at Eaton. The principal at Eaton was really into cutting cost. He actually had me turn his admin office off, not even occupied, not put it on schedule. So what I thought about doing is I've been talking to other energy managers, and it's called on-demand conditioning. We have 35 units at that school. So what I did was I set up 5 different schedules to start those different units. If you think about when your business starts up, you're going to peak. Well, we were starting all of our units at that school a half hour before school started, and then they turn off at the last bell. That's a spike in our demand. What I've done is all of these units now come on well before school starts, and people say, well, they're not occupied. But the rates before 8 o'clock are cheaper than after 8 o'clock. So now all those units go unoccupied at 8 o'clock. But the teachers can override the unit and get 2 hours of conditioning. There's days I look at that school, and there'll be 3 of the 35 units on. Oh, since then, we started that in September through February, we're at about $2,800 worth of savings. That's bill to bill comparing the 2 years. So I'm hoping that I'll look at this for a year, work on it, then start talking to other schools and show the results to the board and to the schools, and hopefully we can start doing this on-demand conditioning so other schools will start seeing some savings in the energy as well and the cost. Finally, sustainable school practices, that's where that one comes in. I'm in the process of working, Chris and I were in the process of working with a company called CIWA. I'm trying to remember what the acronym is, but basically we're looking at a comprehensive recycling program for the whole district. They will come out and audit every school, work with the students, the staff, the custodian, and see how we can reduce. We did a test at Kennedy. We have an 8-yard dumpster picked up 3 times a week. That's 24 yards of trash. Their sensors, they actually put, it's kind of cool, they put sensors in the unit, the trash can, and it shows us when it's picked up how much we have. We averaged at that school 15.9 yards of trash picked up a week. We're contracted for 24. So even the trash is less, we're having less trash taken away than we're actually contracted for. So the service doesn't fit the contract. So we're looking at things like that, as well as, that's not even taking things out of the trash that are recyclable yet. So we should be able to reduce that. So the first audit report I got on Kennedy, they were looking at close to $5,600 just in an annual savings at Kennedy if we implement their program and the education part of it. They do pictures, they do all of that, they work with the students, so we start recycling the right way. We do it now, but we contaminate things, different things like that. So that's pretty much my presentation. The only last thing, before I'll entertain questions from anybody, but my question to you is, are you guys ready to become an energy pirate?
Thank you, Captain. So I'd like to open up for questions to my fellow board members. It's an information item, so if you have any questions on the presentation, does anyone?
I just want to say thank you. We love having you come, Pirate Energy, right? That's what you call yourself?
Captain Kilowatt.
Captain Kilowatt, sorry.
It is amazing when I show up at school, the kids, the looks on the faces like, there's a captain, or there's a pirate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah, Phyllis.
I also want to thank you for a great presentation in your wonderful costume. But as we look at the percentages for the schools, I understand some of them have construction and other mitigating circumstances, but if they don't, and they are low in their percentage, what strategies do you do to try to help them to improve that?
Well, what I would do is meet with the principal and then actually go out and this is where you do the negative auditing, unfortunately. Is go out and watch the school site to see if I can find where that wasted energy is. You know, if there are well, you know, it's interesting. I asked teachers, and I bet you the same question would apply here. When it's hot on the weekend and you turn on your AC, do you then go open your front door and all your windows? And the answer is always no. But we do just the opposite at the office. You know, it's a behavioral change. That's what this whole program is about, is going out and finding why aren't we saving, and is the behavior the issue, and can we change the behavior? And have that be the impetus that, I mean, I go out and it's fun because I see things that I've asked them to do, and I see them being done in the classroom. I want them to, you know, again, I say my age, but we used to have chalkboard cleaners, and I see in schools jobs. Sometimes I see energy manager. So that's a child that goes around to the classroom and makes sure the lights are off, the computers are turned off every night. I want to do more of that. I want to get the students involved more. There are future energy managers.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else?
Thank you for making something kind of boring fun, and it seems everyone's looking forward to it.
It is boring at times, yes.
So do you wear this to all the schools, your outfit? Is that your
I wear
daily
this on
outfit?
the weekends. I wear this. It's where it came from when I was presenting to children at times. I would say, you know, finding energy waste is like buried treasure.
Yeah, that's
and I enjoy finding buried treasure, and that's what it is. And so it kind of grew from there, and, you know, I thought maybe a pirate. So-
Very good analogy. So I have a little for the solar energy. So you say that we might not be saving money right now, and are you still going to evaluate what?
No, what I'm saying is before we put in a solar system, you want to make sure that every site, we are as energy efficient possible outside the behavior thing. You know, changing out a light to LED to make sure the HVAC units are as efficient as possible. Because what they do when they size the solar is they look at your generation and the load at that school site, and then they size it for a certain percent. What's happened is schools will go out and put in solar. Well, the load they're sizing for has now changed because then they went and put in new lights. They changed out the gyms, put in new lights, reduced their energy usage so it doesn't match with the profile that they designed the unit. So now your solar system is too much for your school. So what we wanted, and then again, we're going to have small systems just because of the size of our schools.
So
we don't,
we
have the parking
don't
lot.
want to put in too big a system
Correct.
that's too big for
It's
a
called
school.
sizing. You want to size the unit to the load of the school. And before you do that, you want to make sure that your load at your school is as tight as possible.
So
that you're not having
eventually
waste.
we will still look into moving into solar.
Oh, yes, after all the Prop 39 money, and we start and we feel like, I feel like we have everything at a school site very efficient. I'm not opposed to then looking at solar. We have to do the cost benefit analysis, see what the return on investment is, things like that. Because if it's a 30-year payback, that's a long time to get your cost back.
Would we be able to get another fund for solar, or that's not covered by this Prop 39
Can I just do a point
funding,
of
right?
order for a
Yeah.
second? So
Okay.
we're going to come back
Okay.
soon and do a whole thing about solar, which in itself will take
Oh.
twice this long anyway. So
Okay.
what I'd like to suggest is that we hold off on the future-related
Mm-hmm.
things, because that wasn't the presentation, right? So if we can bring that later, and we're going to do a lot more talking on solar for sure.
So, Kristen?
Well, just want to thank you, and I really enjoy your presentation every time, and I can feel you're totally passionate about this. So really appreciate it.
I tease teachers that they contribute to the bottom line of society, and I get to contribute to the bottom line of the district.
So I have a quick question too. So I live in Sunnyvale, and I think it's PG&E, but it might be Silicon Valley Energy, something else. But they like really have a surcharge. Not that I would ever exceed, but for every amount that you're over a certain amount of energy usage. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like it's prorated. Like the more you use, the more you're penalized. So do we have that? Do they do that to the individual school sites or?
You know, I don't recall seeing that.
Okay.
I know with Silicon Valley Energy Watch that we break out the transportation costs from PG&E.
Okay.
And then the energy charges from Silicon Valley.
Okay.
And I have seen us reduce that.
Okay.
The one thing, PG&E's peak period may be changing soon, and that's just not business, but it's residential.
Okay.
And their normal peak is 12 to 6. That's their highest cost. It may be shifting to 6 to 9 or later.
Okay.
And I blame that on their marketing. Because what do they tell us?
Yeah.
Do everything at night or on weekends. So now everybody shifted and did that. Now their peaks changed.
And also, like my fellow board members, I just want to really thank you for your passion.
Thank you.
Thank you for saving us money, and thank you for saving us energy, and thank you for wearing your everyday clothing to this meeting tonight. Okay, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Okay, so I was going to propose, well, oh no, after this, does anyone need a bathroom break, or can we go 2 more sections and then we'll do it? Or not a bathroom break, a break, 5-minute break. Anyone right now? Okay, so we'll do 2 more and then we'll take the break. Okay, so we have an overview of CUSD's teacher induction program.
So while Laurel makes her way up here, I just wanted to say we're excited about bringing an overview of our teacher induction program. Our induction program supports our growth and professional development of new teachers through coaching and mentoring effective teaching, learning, and assessment practices. Laurel oversees the department, works with our ISTs, and she's going to give you some information, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions at the end. So turn over to Laurel.
I'd like to start by saying that thank you, Kevin, if he's still in here, for putting into perspective how long I chose this blazer this morning. The costume, I mean, that puts it all into perspective right there. So I think he's not in the room right now, but please extend that thank you to him. Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Baker, and Executive Cabinet. I am proud to share with you tonight a brief overview of our district's new teacher induction program. It's not reacting.
Did Jeff go?
And some glitches here.
Down arrow. Okay, thank you. So our team, thank you for that assistance. Our team consists of 4 ISTs who serve as district mentors, and myself as I oversee the day-to-day program and work under the guidance of Doug Bond and Stacy McAfee in Human Resources. The district mentors work directly with our new teachers and site support providers and special education site mentors. 2 of our mentors also serve as program advisors, serving on our steering committee and providing input for continuous program improvement. I'm grateful to all of them for their hard work and dedication to our new teachers and our students. The quotes that you will see throughout are from our new teachers who shared their thoughts with us at the conclusion of their induction program last spring. So we've sprinkled them in throughout so that you can hear their voice. CUSD has had a high-quality induction program for many years. In the past, our district was part of a local consortium of districts associated with the New Teacher Center and the Santa Cruz Silicon Valley New Teacher Project. Through that partnership and continuing today, our mentors receive ongoing high-quality professional development and training through NTC-led programs and support. In 2009, we wrote our own program, which was approved by the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing, enabling us to serve our teachers directly and act as a state-approved induction program able to recommend our teachers for their clear credential after successfully completing the 2-year induction program. Additionally, in the spring of 2015, CUSD was granted accreditation to offer an education specialist induction program as well, thus allowing our district to recommend for a clear credential those teachers, candidates with either a mild moderate or moderate severe education specialist credential. In December of 2015, the CTC adopted new induction standards and revised how all programs work. In the past, where we had 2 programs, including the general ed and education specialist programs, we now meet the new standards, which are much more streamlined and allow us to consider our program one teacher induction program, serving all of the teachers who qualify. Induction is defined as the period of support, professional development, and assessment for a teacher with a California preliminary credential. The CTC and the Department of Education actually mandate the completion of an induction program to fulfill the requirements of the clear credential. Induction programs such as ours must be based on the California Standards for the Teaching Profession, or CSTP, and on statewide induction standards. We work with individual teachers who enter and advance through the profession at different levels of experience and expertise in varied roles and in varying contexts, including those with those preliminary credentials, teachers from with out-of-state credentials, and teachers with credentials from other countries. Our induction program must meet standards of quality and effectiveness and we operate on a 7-year accreditation cycle. During that cycle, we're required to write a response to induction preconditions as well as to common and program standards. A precondition is a requirement for both initial and continued program approval, and unlike a standard, a precondition is a requirement for program compliance. The basis is a statute, a regulation, or commission policy. The preconditions state that every induction program must be designed to provide a 2-year individualized job-embedded system of mentoring, support, and professional learning that begins in the teacher's first year of teaching. We also must identify and assign a mentor to the participating teacher within the first 30 days of their enrollment in our program. We must ensure that a participating teacher receives an average of not less than 1 hour per week of individualized support and mentoring, either coordinated by or directly provided by a mentor. And then the goals for each teacher must be developed on what's called an individualized learning plan within the first 60 days of enrollment in the program. That plan, or ILP, has to be designed and implemented solely for professional growth and development of the teacher, not for evaluation for employment purposes.
And lastly, the preconditions state that our program must make available and advise our participants of what's called an early completion option program. That's for experienced and exceptional candidates who meet rigorous criteria. We do follow both the common and program standards. The common standards deal with aspects that are the same for all credential programs in the state, whereas program standards address aspects of program quality and effectiveness in individual programs and districts. Those standards ensure that our district has the infrastructure in place to effectively operate an induction program, that we have a research-based vision with the appropriate personnel, that we collaborate with local universities and colleges, and that we offer personalized professional development with a carefully monitored credential recommendation process, ensuring that every candidate has met all requirements. Although we now do have our own program, we do continue to work and collaborate with the New Teacher Center and the Silicon Valley Santa Cruz New Teacher Project. We attend local PD and leadership collaboratives. Over the years, mentors have received training from NTC or through a trainer of trainers model. NTC recently participated in an evaluation of the mentoring model that we follow, validating the impact of our program on our new teachers and their students. NTC received a Federal Investing in Innovation, or I3 grant, making it possible for them to study the impact of research-based teacher mentoring. The results of this research show that just after 1 year of new teachers working with highly trained mentors, the students of those teachers gained 2 to 5 months of additional learning in reading and math, compared to students of a control group of teachers who received a traditional, less intensive teacher mentoring model. It was also shown that retention of teachers was significantly higher for educators receiving support from mentors trained in an NTC-based model. The Cupertino Induction Program is based on the California Standards for the Teaching Profession, which are a set of standards in 6 interdependent domains of practice. Together, these 6 standards represent a developmental, holistic view of teaching and are intended to meet the needs of increasingly diverse teachers and students in California. As supported by the CTC, effective teaching requires careful crafting of learning communities built on trust and respect, as well as routines, expectations, resources, and strategies that support student engagement and learning. And those are reflected in the standards on which our program is based. Our induction program has a layered approach of support for our new teachers, including a district mentor who's focused on the teacher's growth and practice, a site support provider, which that person provides what's called just-in-time support, nuts and bolts, the very site-specific assistance. In our district, our site mentors are focused solely on special education, and they have a trusting collaborative relationship with our new special education teachers. The site administrator is a crucial part of the program who supports both the teacher and the mentors. And then our induction learning lab hosts are focused on pedagogy and instructional strategies. They model lessons for our new teachers to observe, and each new teacher has the opportunity to participate in 2 learning labs per year, visiting the classroom of a master teacher to view instructional growth over time. In our program, we currently have 30 Year 1 candidates, 35 Year 2 candidates. We have 2 teachers who have qualified for our early completion option program. And again, that's for exceptional and experienced teachers. It's not a quick, fast way to finish induction. It's very rigorous, both in application and in implementation. Our site support providers, although we have 25 sites, we have about 40 site support providers because some of them share the role. And we also have a ratio of 5 teachers to 1 site support provider. And the state expects us to be supporting not only in that just-in-time case, they expect us to be supporting not only induction candidates, but all newly hired teachers. So a site support provider may be supporting an intern or a person with a short-term staffing permit, or new to the district but not new to teaching. And so they have a little bit of a higher caseload there. And we have 6 education specialist site mentors. We've got our 4 district mentors and lab hosts at every grade level and subject area. This journey is the heart of our program. This is how we in CUSD meet those standards of quality and effectiveness. The work is not document focused. The paperwork is embedded in what the teachers are currently teaching and the work that's already being done. Induction is focused on engaging in the process of helping our new teachers grow in a way that's meaningful and connected to their current teaching context. The demonstration of completion
is the roadmap outlining the path a new teacher travels along the 2-year induction program. There's a timeline for both years, both the 2 years of the program, with an ongoing focus on classroom management and regular self-assessment based on the CSTP and the continuum of teaching practice. Within that demonstration of completion, each new teacher develops an individual learning plan with identified professional growth goals, and the ILP is developed at the beginning of induction collaboratively with the mentor and in consultation with the site administrator. The teacher engages in an inquiry action plan both years, which is the continuous cycle of assessing and planning, planning based on that data, teaching, assessing again, reflecting, so that you're always focused on the student's achievement. This plan involves mentor-facilitated support and conversation and encourages the candidate to collect evidence of growth in all 6 areas of the CSTP. We ask our teachers to consider where they were when they started induction, where they are now, and where they're going. Again, the early completion option is for exceptional candidates who have to apply for that experience. And the triad with a mentor and an administrator, meeting takes place in the fall, and it helps candidates, mentors, and administrators understand the roles and responsibilities within the context of induction. And it's a structured time for the candidate to share student successes and ask for specific support. The learning labs, again, are hosted by veteran teachers, master teachers. It's an opportunity for our new teachers to observe highly reflective, caring teachers who possess deep content area knowledge, along with a desire and expertise to innovate their approach to instruction and student learning. Our program completion, we are required to document and verify to the state that each candidate has shown progress towards mastery in all 6 CSTP. We have an exit interview process that's a part of that, where they share their growth in all 6 areas and where they bring evidence that they have collected over time. I thank you very much for your time tonight. We know that when we focus on our teachers through induction, our students are succeeding. So I appreciate you taking the time tonight to listen.
Thank you, Laurel. So I'd open it up for clarifying questions. We're still in information items, so Anjali?
Just thank you for all the information, and we're glad the program's going strong. I know it's been almost 8-9 years now.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Good to hear about it again.
Thank you, yes.
Anyone else?
Just thank you. Nice presentation, Laurel.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kristen?
Yes, first, thank you so much for your presentation. It's very helpful. And then I have a question, maybe Chris can answer me. So for this year, there's a $145K already budget on Title III funding.
I don't know the exact amount.
Well, that's fine. It's just based on the documentation. It says that. So my first question is like, why is under Title III funding? And then second is going forward was still always under this Title III funding? Tier 3 funding, I'm sorry.
Tier 3.
Under Tier 3 funding. Okay. Prior to LCFF, the induction program, the money was pretty much categorically funded, and so the state was referring to it as Tier 3 money. So I think we are still calling it Tier 3 funding, if that's what I heard you say. It's technically unrestricted dollars. So I'm trying to understand your question as far as why do we still refer to it as Tier 3?
Yeah.
I don't have an answer.
But basically, it's just unrestricted funding.
Technically speaking, it's unrestricted general fund dollars, whereas in the past it was labeled Tier 3 funding because it was once state categorical funds. But since LCFF has been implemented, there isn't very much left that's considered restricted and categorical. But we could probably refer to it as, don't stop referring to it as Tier 3 funding since it no longer exists. The terminology, I mean.
Thank you.
Anyone else on questions on this presentation? Okay, Laurel, thank you so much. And I know you've been working on this for many years. Thank you for your hard work on the work and the presentation. So, Next we have,
Transportation.
so fee-based student transportation program update and proposed fee increase in 2018 and 19. It's a discussion item, and we do have a comment card. So we'll hear a presentation from Chris. Board will have opportunity to ask clarifying questions. Then we'll hear the public comment, and then we can enter into a discussion. Okay, Chris.
Yes, good evening. Actually, we've got a tag team here. Toby's
Okay.
going to help me present. But so tonight we're going to present a couple of things at the request of the board. The board had requested some information on what our current transportation program looks like. But tonight, the majority of tonight's presentation is to continue to update the board in terms of where we are with our current fee-based program. About a year ago, staff presented a plan to bring our current transportation, our fee-based transportation costs, or at least I guess the cost for a bus pass closer to what our actual cost is. So that'll be the outcome of tonight. I want to share some information with that, but staff decided to kind of blend this part together because we wanted to talk a little bit about the program, and that's why I've asked Toby to be here to share with you a little bit about our program. So tonight, let me just first start off with, we offer transportation in many forms. We offer a fee-based transportation program for our regular ed population. We provide free transportation for our special needs children. As far as regular transportation is considered not to be a requirement by the state. School districts that continue to operate a transportation program do so with very little funding, and I hate to say insulting, they don't give us any more money. The funding that we get for regular transportation is not even subject to a COLA. It's just whatever they gave you at the time. But tonight was just, again, talking about our current fee-based program. We do offer limited transportation. We offer limited transportation to 4 of our elementary school sites. The reasons why those 4 school sites were chosen were primarily because the way their school attendance boundaries are set up. We've looked at where kids are having to travel from home to school, and these schools were identified because their particular neighborhoods have large roads or large thoroughfares in the middle. So it was just with the idea of student safety in mind in terms of transporting kids. So we transport to and from DeVargas. We transport to and from Stevens Creek, Eisenhower, and Montclair as well. We do provide transportation on a limited basis to one of our 5 middle schools. Cupertino Middle School currently is the one middle school that we transport students to. From what I understand, the reasons for transporting students to Cupertino Middle School, and these kids are actually living in the Stockholm-Meyer attendance area. My understanding was that the primary emphasis was, since there's a larger proportion of students living in the Stockholm-Meyer area, transporting those kids directly to CMS would have taken quite a bit of cars off the road and the greater distances as well. So beyond that, that is as much of the transportation we provide other than special ed transportation, and that's pretty much determined by the child's IEP. We do provide some level of field trips. We do provide field trips during the day when it doesn't impact our normal daily runs. So that's the background. I think Toby talked about the staffing.
Well, first of all, good evening, everybody. I had a really unique experience since December. We had our current transportation manager, Ben Lee, retired, and I've actually been running transportation since then. So I've actually really proud of that department, including fleet, and really a big learning curve for me to know how to operate the microphone and dispatch and all those various things. But it was good to spend time out there every day and be the manager basically for the last 6 months. My staffing in the transportation and fleet department is 3 office folks, a trainer, one dispatcher, and 1 scheduler, 34 bus drivers, 5 mechanics, and those mechanics, as alluded to earlier in the enterprise master lease presentation item, they maintain both white and yellow fleet. And then one program support staff, which I believe is Pam.
Yeah.
Pam, working, selling bus passes and so forth, so.
The next slide is, we just kind of wanted to share where we are with ridership. Just with our regular ed transportation, we're transporting currently about 364 kids divided up amongst these 4 schools. So I'll blow it up a little bit. So as an example, Eisenhower, we're transporting currently about 32 kids. That's a combination of round-trip tickets, students only wanting a one-way pass into school or a one-way ride home in the afternoon. Stevens Creek currently has about 53 riders, Montclair 31, DeVargas 111, and Cupertino 137 students. Unfortunately, we do also have some kids on a wait list. We currently have about 107 students on a wait list for DeVargas, and we have about 50 students on a wait list for CMS. For both of those schools, we conduct an annual lottery since we have more interest and than our ability to provide. We do provide a lottery for all those families. And that's something actually we're getting ready to do in the next couple of weeks. So that's just our current ridership. Toby, you want to talk about the routes?
You bet. We have currently 9 routes for our big bus, and those are the large 78 passenger buses. All the buses that you see here, I'm just going to interject something here. All 4 of those buses were won free by writing grants. So I was really pleased with that those big buses were actually given to us by the Bay Area Air Quality Management District for free. So that was a big windfall for the district. And then the small buses, the little buses, have 29 routes and 280 students. Those are the ones we also were talking about earlier that there was concern by the board. You know, there's so many miles on them. They're actually at the 300,000 mile level. So those are our older buses, unfortunately, the smaller ones, and they transport into all the elementary schools you can see here, as well as the middle schools. We also have 7 Santa Clara County Office of Education programs, so 7 routes over there. So that gives a brief overview of our routes, and the routes are determined every year during a process before we come back and bid out on seniority. So, and I think we have some shots of the routes.
And just one more thing to add, in regards to the number of routes that we have, the 9 routes for regular transportation, as you look at the schools that they are servicing, one of the things to keep in mind is that these schools all have different bell schedules. And so we look at like Bus 5. Bus 5, as an example, is picking up kids at DeVargas, picking up neighborhood kids in the DeVargas area, dropping them off at DeVargas, then turning around and picking up kids that go to Cupertino Middle, and then circling around and picking up the neighborhood kids for Stevens Creek. So the one issue that affects our ability to transport more students is our ability to look at the number of buses that we have and the routing, and also take into account really when our start and end times for our schools are. So that is one of the things that does impact us in terms of our ability to provide. The next set of slides is just really more information to let everyone know kind of why did we choose to transport to those school sites, and what are some of the reasons. So I just started off with this is what our total district school elementary boundaries look like. But let's drill down to each school. So as I mentioned, we transport to Eisenhower. Eisenhower is this one bubble up here. And so we are transporting kids that have to cross Lawrence Expressway. We're having kids transport. So all these kids here have to somehow cross the Lawrence Expressway. We have actually kids now coming from Main Street and the Valco area. So all of those kids, currently now not a lot, have to navigate their way all the way down Stevens Creek and also across 280. And so that is the reasons why we've created these transportation bus stops to transport kids from one side of Lawrence Expressway to Eisenhower. Here's Stevens Creek. If you're kind of familiar with the neighborhood over there, the primary street we have up there to negotiate around is Foothill Expressway and Stevens Creek Boulevard. And there are large hills, there are creeks, and so as you can see where the stars are, those are basically where all of our bus stops are. So we do quite a bit of transporting in the Stevens Creek area, just how the layout is. DeVargas. So if you didn't know, so DeVargas' attendance area is actually divided by Highway 280. We have part of the population that lives on the south side of 280, and this portion of the neighborhood that lives on the other side of 280. So we are primarily transporting 111 kids from one side of the freeway to the other. This number has been growing as the interest in families and students wanting to attend DeVargas. This number has grown in the 3 years that I've been here, and that is the reason why we've reached the point where we've had to conduct a lottery. But this is one of the areas too that we should look at, see if we can offer any additional support. Montclair. So we transport about 31 students currently now, and the transportation areas are all on the north side of Foothill Expressway, and that's, again, primarily the reason why we set up limited transportation for Montclair. For Cupertino Middle, as I mentioned, we're transporting right now mainly just the kids that are living in the Stockholm-Meyer attendance area. We currently have 2 pickups. We are picking up at Crescent Avenue up here next to, I think it's Heritage Park, and picking up at the elementary school site itself. It's about 3.2 miles in total distance that those kids are being bused. That is probably the longest distance that we're transporting students. And we're about 137 students currently transporting. And as I mentioned, all we're doing right now is providing this limited amount of transportation. I know we have been asked by the board to have a conversation probably at some point in time to talk about looking at transportation as a whole, looking at other school sites such as Montclair. I would also even throw Hyde into that conversation. And I know that'll be probably something we will come back at another time, because tonight is really just talk about the fee-based program, and at an upcoming board meeting, staff would like to bring a recommendation to increase the bus pass, but I'll talk about that in a second. But we know that we've had some inquiries about providing some transportation from the Montclair community directly to CMS. Here's CMS, here's Montclair, and currently now those kids have to negotiate down Foothill Expressway and make their way down Homestead. And so roughly about, not quite 2 miles in terms of total distance. Eisenhower right now, if we wanted to kind of compare in terms of the distance that they're having to travel and also what obstacles that they're dealing with, the kids from Eisenhower to get their way to Hyde have to negotiate, I think 3 or 4 large roads, Stevens Creek Boulevard, 280, and either come down Saratoga Avenue or come down Lawrence Expressway to travel almost 2.6 miles. And currently now we don't provide any transportation from that side of town to this side of town. Now, getting to the point of tonight was just to, again, share with the board where we are with our current pricing for our bus passes. Last year, the board approved staff to increase the annual round-trip bus pass to $770 per rider. Based on the current cost to the district, again, that's taking into consideration the little bit of funding we get from the state. It's roughly not quite $2,000 per student. So we are subsidizing the cost of a ride, I guess, per student, roughly about $1,227. So staff brought a recommendation to bring the bus passes up to closer to our current cost. We had proposed to do so over a period of 3 years. What we had shared with the board was that for 2018-19, increase what is now the current rate of $770 per year for a round-trip pass up to $1,000 per year per pass. Currently now it's about $4.28 per day when you look at the entire school year, and that would raise the per diem cost up to $5.55. And then should the board consider the 1920 rate at a future date, bringing the total cost of a bus pass to $1,227, that would round out the total cost to roughly about $6.82 a day. When you go back and look at what we were charging back in 2016-17, we were charging roughly about $541 for an annual bus pass, basically about $3 a day in terms of cost, and it's a little bit less than now a school lunch when you look at that at the cost back then. So that was all I had to say tonight.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
I am doing this. Thank you, Chris and Toby. Really appreciate it. We'll open it up to clarifying questions from the board members on the presentation. But before we get into discussion, I do want to hear from the public comment. So does anyone have clarifying questions on the presentation?
I'm not sure where it lands, so I'll just wait for the discussion.
Okay.
I do have a question, but it could be part of the
Okay.
discussion.
I do too, but I'll wait.
Okay, anyone else?
Two.
Wait, okay. So I'll wait too. Okay, so we have Lori Ann Cunningham. You got 3 minutes.
Good evening. So I'd like to ask the board to please consider asking for clarification on the following tonight before entertaining, if you have enough information, to have a thorough discussion regarding the busing issues for all sites this evening. First, in last year's transportation program overview at the 3/28/17 board meeting, I went back and looked it up. The total cost for our busing program last year was reported at $964,000. And in this year's presentation, that total cost has jumped to $1.2 million. So it would be great to have some clarification on how those costs jumped $225,000 in a single year. I'm also curious to know what other data the district has to present to help guide a discussion around any consideration of routes beyond just the presented information on distance traveled. Concern here is twofold. First, the same measures are not being used in all examples. Are you measuring the distance from the elementary school to the middle school, or from the outer boundary of the attendance area to the school? Are you including major roadways other than expressways, or aren't you? For example, if you're going to include Stevens Creek or Saratoga, shouldn't you also consider Homestead, or Fremont, or Bub, or Stelling, which many of our schools cross? Why consider a crossing over a freeway on a bridge on one route, but not an actual exit ramp on another freeway on another? It should be the same assessment for all sites, but in the presentation, it's not. Second, it would seem like a genuine discussion of the issues at hand should include key data about collisions, including incidents involving students en route to and from school. How many jurisdictions a route crosses, and if they have a coordinated safe route to school or not. And also infrastructure concerns along those routes. And then current traffic congestion and county projections and numbers of parents choosing to drive short distances purely to ensure their kids get to school safely, and the complexity of all of those issues on all of those routes. That's all I've got for you. Thank you. I hope you'll ask those questions.
Thank you. Okay, so we'd like to open it up for discussion. We can discuss amongst ourselves or ask questions. Anybody?
I just wanted to, I remember we had proposed the increase of fee last year so as that we can get close as possible to what it's costing us. And I guess we haven't had an issue of people not wanting to do it even though we raised the fees, because we have, we still have waiting lists and some of the sites. So my question was just to my fellow board members, when they bring it back, do we need them to bring it back every year for the increase, or can we just give them, bring it back, do the 2-year increase at the same time? Because we did, it's the same, in terms of the dollar amount, they're still suggesting the same dollar amount in terms of the increase, so.
Yeah, I had a question on the increase, actually. I thought that we were eventually gonna get to the total annual cost, but it looks like even in the 1920 school year, it's still not getting to the total cost.
1,227 is the,
Right, and isn't it 1997 is the per rider?
yeah, hold on, I'm sorry.
Right, but I'm saying on the previous slide, it says the actual cost is 1997, so.
The 1,227 was what we shared with you last year.
Okay, so getting
Getting
close, but not full.
So my
Okay.
understanding was that it would keep going up until we get to it, but we can't erase it.
Right, I understand, okay.
To that point.
Yeah.
So, but if we can do it like 2 years at a time is what I'm suggesting.
Right. So I have other questions, but I'm okay with what you're saying, Anjali, is once we approve the step increase, I'm okay with it. What about?
I have a question.
Yeah, Phyllis.
It seems that one of the things that's preventing us from providing transportation from Hyde, Chris, as you suggest, or to Hyde, and another bus from Montclair, is the fact that we don't have enough buses. So my question is, Toby, you've been pretty successful over the years in writing grants and getting buses for us. Are there any more opportunities for that, or did that ship sail, or?
Well, I wrote a grant in 2011. What we really need, Board Member Vogel, is minibuses. And those grants are, very rare. And the grants on the big buses are very easy to find because it gets off the diesel polluters off the road. So I did write a grant to the Presidio in 2010 for 10 buses, but they gave it to a different school district. So I do have all the feelers out, grants.com, everything. So, but we really need those mini buses, and those grants are very rare. But if I do fund one, I'll write it, of course.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask a follow-up on that?
Yeah.
How much does a minibus cost?
They're about 78,000.
Okay, so maybe we have to do a fundraising just for a bus. Just
Or
out of
ask
the box
Steve.
idea.
Yeah.
Out
To
of
buy
the
us a
box
bus.
idea.
So,
Can I also add,
Yeah.
Phyllis, you had mentioned what would it take to do so. It's not only the bus, it's also hiring drivers.
That's right,
and
I
finding
understand
drivers.
that, yeah.
And we struggle right now with even finding substitute drivers.
I was going to ask that, is there still a driver shortage? And it sounds like there is. I have a question, and then we can allow other people. So it looks like for Montclair route and Eisenhower route, on one of the trips for each of those, there's less than 20 people on the bus, have a 78-person bus capacity. So we have only 20 on a bus. And then we have many more on a waiting list for DeVargas and Cupertino that could fill a bus. So I'm probably going to get killed for saying anything like this, but I'll just take it. So I'm wondering, what are the thoughts on that? And then two is, when you calculate the price per student, if we filled a bus, it seems like the price would be less, right? Because all students are paying the same price. But some of our buses aren't full.
Well, in regards to more students, we would still operate with the same total cost. Is more students on the bus will just offset what the total cost is, unless we add another driver and add
Right,
another
so it
bus.
would become cheaper per student, the total cost.
So our cost would be less, like our impact to our, because right now we are impacted by $1,200 or something per child, right?
19.
We're transporting only 364 students. That's
Right.
your point, yes.
Right. Yeah, okay, and then, okay, so I guess it's to the fellow board members, what are your thoughts if we have, let's say we don't have any more buses, we don't have any more bus drivers, we only have a certain number of drivers and buses, yet we have more people on a wait list for another route than people taking an existing route.
Well, I think the question is whether that bus can even be used for that other route because there may be a conflict.
That's true. So,
Right, so
can it?
And to your point, that was kind of what I was explaining a little earlier. The way the routes are set up and the way those schools' bell schedules are set up, obviously a bus can't be in two places at the same time, so when one set of kids that they're picking up and then dropping off, that bus then has to get back in time to pick up another bunch of kids. So that's the challenge that we have right now.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying if the bus were not to pick up one group of students and be shifted to another school, is it?
That's not the discussion.
Okay, yeah, so can I weigh in?
Yeah,
just for
yeah,
1 second?
please.
So I think we should have set this up a little bit better to clarify, because there's so much information here that would lead you down that exact path. But in fact, what our hope is to just recommit to the dollar amount and say we're trying to creep up as we said we would do before, make sure we can do that. We need to have like a serious task force looking at this with community, with the city, with other people who actually have a lot of jurisdiction over streets that can work with us on this. And I just think it's a really big, important issue. And it gets back to questions raised about equity and why these streets, why those, why not these students, why are we, and then we're going to tie it to what are we going to do about enrollment changes, which may well need other bus solutions. So I'm a little reticent to go too deeply right now into this conversation about routes and which and things. And I'm trying to get us to focus really what we said was about can we revisit what the board put forth before I was ever here about increasing the fee to at least get closer to picking up our costs for what we do recognize in some cases is not transporting very many kids relative to probably what we could. And so I feel like we have to solve the bigger issue, but we just can't tackle that tonight. That's not in the cards, and I fear it's going to be really more, we need like a year of conversation to figure this thing out. Sorry to say.
Okay, I agree with you. So, yeah, Leah.
So I understand that for students who are on reduced lunch, they get free bus ride, right?
Is it free or reduced?
Or reduced rate.
They would either get a free pass or a reduced pass due to their income qualifications.
So our increase won't increase their cost. Their reduced fee will stay the same.
They will get the discount on the new base rate.
So there will be a slight increase for those with discount.
Yes, just a very slight increase, but they are still receiving the same percentage of a reduction. But a free pass is a free pass. So if you were getting a free pass, you would still get a free pass.
So then, since we have increased the rate last year, do we have any families that feel it's too much, or it's still worthwhile for them? So we increase again, it won't be a hardship for families? Just wondering. But then we do have wait lists for some schools, right? So so families feel that it's a really good value to have.
If you look at it, the wait list is for DeVargas, which is our highest need school. So I don't
So I
see
guess
the fee
price
is an
will be
issue.
okay.
The price is an issue.
Just want to confirm that.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think I would like to see, well, first I want to move forward with this, but in the future, do see data on that, because just because we have a wait list doesn't mean some people aren't being excluded because of the price. And then other people who have the money are able to take the bus, right? Those are two different things.
Yeah.
So we would like to see that. I would like to see that because it's important.
Would we know if a family stopped taking? Do you do the lottery every year?
Yes.
So if a family has the bus, next year they might not get it.
Correct. With the lottery, yes.
So it's hard to say.
It's hard to determine.
It's very hard to determine.
Yeah.
It really is.
But they might not even apply based on
Yeah.
the new fee, and we wouldn't, I don't know how to capture that, but if there was a way, I would like to see it.
Because those are the schools that.
Can I make a
pass.
comment now?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So first of all, I really totally support your task force idea. I think those waiting lists kind of really look scary. but I know our focus should be the fee we are going to, the propose for the increase. I want to make a comment about the ability, you mentioned about a school start and end day, and start time and end time. It trigger the ability. And I know start from next school year, Fremont Union High is going to change all the schedules. Leslie may know better about all the details, but I know a lot of school potentially is going to change their bell time as well, because to avoid the traffic, I mean, in our school district, they potentially will change. So I don't know if that's going to have the impact on this bus schedule as well.
I mean, we have been made aware of those proposed changes, and we've asked the school sites, our school sites, to reach out to Toby and the transportation department the moment they are talking about changing what those bell schedules are, to see how it would impact. And we're just now receiving some of that information, so we don't have a full analysis of it yet. But we did mention to them is that any changes that they have may potentially have some impacts and effects, but it's too early on to tell whether or not it'll be something that will impact us or not.
And let me just add, and we can bring back the information at another time, but each of our schools is looking at the schedule in comparison, and probably out of our 20 elementary schools, we'll have one that will change the start time. And our middle schools right now, I don't think anyone other than one elementary is looking at shifting in times. But if that information changes, I'll bring that back to the group.
Thank you.
Okay, so it sounds like a lot of our questions, hold on one second, all of you. A lot of our questions can be answered later through a task force, and we do have a lot of other agenda items. So I would propose that if we assume that these are the rates, are we okay with going forward with the, increased step fees for the students? Or do you have more questions related to that exact topic? All three of you. Yeah, Phyllis?
Well, it's on for discussion, not for action.
Oh, right, no action,
So when
yeah.
we bring it back.
Yeah, you would be directing
Right.
us to bring it back a certain way.
So when
Only
I bring
for
it
that,
back,
yes.
I would support Anjali's idea of bringing back and voting on the 2 years instead of just the
Oh,
one.
right, okay.
And I had one other thing that has flown out of my head.
If it comes
Oh,
back while they're talking.
I would like to follow up on something that Lorianne said about and I haven't looked at the budget. I assume she's accurate in when she says we've increased over $200,000 in a year, but I would like more information on that, if it's true.
Just to add to that, it's also possible our ridership changed. So yeah, I think when they do an in-depth task force transportation, we'd probably be able to see what the changes are year over year in terms of ridership and cost, because that is also related, right?
Okay, so is everyone okay with that? This is a discussion item. When we bring it back for a discussion action next time, we want to bring it back for the 2-year approval of the step increase.
Actually, I would prefer to see the numbers again next year before we increase. I think that would change every year, right? Shouldn't we at least look at the cost?
But Liang, in terms of the cost changing, even if the cost changes every year, we are really far away of covering the cost that it costs the district. So I don't see in harm keeping it at 2 years and reviewing it in 2 years, because we are no way close
We're still
to.
500.
We can still ask to see the
Seeing is
update,
different than
right?
approve. Yeah, that's just a presentation. It's
Okay.
not about
And
approving.
say again what it is, an update on,
I mean, we can still ask for an update next year, even though we have approved an increase for 2 years period.
if
Yeah.
needed,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so are we, Anjali, one more thing?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we add something that Leslie said to an future agenda item. I'm not sure if Craig caught it, about the time schedule changes because of
Yeah.
the high school district. I would like to, just as an information, whether it be on a Friday memo or.
Yeah.
I can do that. So that we know if we are changing a school, one of
Yeah.
our elementary school is getting affected because of the high school, I think I would just like to have that information.
Yeah. Okay, everyone, okay? So, thank you, Chris and Toby, and I look forward to bringing this back to us. Okay, so it's, oh wow, it's 8:15, so we'll be taking a 5, or even maybe a 5 minutes, or what do we need?
75 minutes?
No, I was going to say
5
7 minutes, 5 minutes, right? So it's 8:17 right now, so come back at 22. 23.
So that's not an option for us.
But it won't get started until Jeff is rolling priorities. So they're not going to shift.
Right, and our drive, they can't force us. Like Chris said tonight, even getting subs when our drivers are
Jeff, can you give
absent.
me a sign when we're rolling again?
Because they're driving for Google and Apple. Yeah.
Okay, we're ready to continue the meeting. We are on 6.2, instructional technology update. And we'll turn it over to Jeff.
All right, thank you. Good evening. Mahmoud and Amy will also be joining me tonight on the presentation. And I think anytime we come back, anytime we come back to a presentation, I think the important part is always to acknowledge the work of all the staff across the district and on our IT Square team, because though Mahmoud, Amy, and I are presenting tonight, we certainly are doing it representing a lot of people across the district. And so with that being said, one of our focuses this year, our framework of what our IT Square team mission is this year, is to empower every student staff member by providing an environment which allows teaching and learning to thrive in a learner-focused classroom. The three areas that we're coming back to this year on was, the first one was research, assess, and analyze the impact of our instructional technology program across the district, and we're going to bring that back to you in May. The second item was our engagement with all stakeholders, to include teachers, students, administrators, and parents, and that ended up becoming a priority for us as a district, as the short-term priorities. And so that you will get an update at the board advance that's coming up here in April. And our focus tonight is on the learner-focused classroom. I think as we looked at everything that was taking place in the district, and we look at how we kind of got offline, so to speak, with our technology, is the most important aspect of everything we do is teaching and learning. And one of the things we want to come back to is, what does teaching and learning look like in Cupertino, and more importantly, where are the successes we're already having with teaching and learning going forward? And so as we come back, we know teaching and learning is a board priority as well. But I think when you talk about technology, it's not separate of instructions. It's embedded in instruction as part of what students get every single day in school. And so we talk about our employees all the time, because ultimately we know good teaching, and our students are going to benefit from good teaching, and creating an environment that benefits our students is always what we're seeking. And so, you know, as we look at our professional development across the district this year, and I know I had a chance to share some of the feedback from the surveys and some of the work that our team has done, we really tried to get our thinking of what professional development is to look different than what it has in the past. We want to look at autonomy for our teachers, where the usage is across the district, and we're going to hit on some usage tonight. And then ultimately, we're going to do a survey with our students to talk about what's working for them in the classroom, what areas we can do better as a district. Over the past few years here, I think we've been really focused on content-heavy curriculum. We had the change in Common Core. Going from the CST standards to Common Core was a big change in schools. It was a big change in instruction. And so I think a lot of the PDs we were doing across the district became very content heavy, and it needed to happen that way. What I think one thing that we're seeing now is to shift away from the content heavy PD, because it's in place right now. We have units of study, we have CPM, math, we have Go Math, is to get back to the skill side of it. And so when we look at the skill areas that we're talking about, is the great teaching practice includes teacher professional development, content strength, skill strength, and ultimately feeling connected to the district, school, and colleagues. And I'll go back to the learning day that we had with middle schools. The biggest takeaway, and I think one of the biggest success of the day, was the fact that people got a chance to connect with colleagues that they don't see on a regular basis. It's very easy for us to connect with the staff members that are on our site, but it's hard sometimes to connect across the district. And when you have a learning day, the more we can connect those colleagues across the district and have them sharing their practice, we know that students are going to benefit from that. And we have so much expertise sitting in our classrooms here in Cupertino that we have to tap into that and take advantage of it. And I think as we bring back the assessment to you in May, you're also going to see that highlighted there as well. Some of the other things of where this information came from, as you know, EC, we go to every single school site. I think we've gone to 23 out of 25 school sites, I think somewhere around there. And then on our ongoing feedback, so we get invited to go to classrooms, we get invited to go out to school sites, we get invited to do walks on school sites. So as we talk about what are we seeing across our system, that's where we're pulling it from, or where the data points that we're pulling from. And to go a little bit more into what it looks like for teachers and students in the district, Amy's going to actually focus on the next one of how do we know that technology is supporting our goal of empowering every student and staff member.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, so how do we know that technology is supporting our goal of empowering our students and staff? What we've done is we've identified a number of successes for student and staff, and we've organized them by different categories. So I'm going to review those with you now. So the first area is around efficient teacher workflow. So some of the student successes that we've seen around this is the usage of tools such as Google Classroom and Drive and Seesaw, where students are able to share their work and make their thinking and learning visible. For staff success, we've done a number of different professional development opportunities, such as the paperless classroom that we held this past summer, helping teachers to be more efficient in the use of technology. We also did a pilot of Literably for Rigby, and you can see that the results that we had from that were very positive. We've also seen a great usage of Seesaw, which we'll get into a little bit more later, as well as the support provided by our team. When we look at effective teaching practices, we can see our student successes in their opportunity to use creation tools. Some of our top apps that are downloaded district-wide are the G Suite for Education, as well as iMovie, which are great for giving students opportunities to demonstrate their learning in different ways and to have innovation. In terms of staff success, we've highlighted a number of different successful teacher practices in the classroom, giving other teachers insights into how teachers are using technology in their classrooms. In terms of the use of personalized tools, for students, we see a number of people using tools such as Code.org, Newsela, and Seesaw, which allow for a more personalized opportunity for students and also to provide more individualization and adaptive pathways for them to learn. In terms of our staff success, when we look at our G Suite for Education Analytics, we can see high usage, as well as we have our ongoing requests for the approval of different apps that we see. We have, so far for this school year, we've had 68 requests for different tools. We also want to be really nimble and adaptive and be able to add any tool into our system. And so we've been very responsive to student needs with technology, as well as we've been responsive to staff needs as well in providing support. And then in terms of focus on teaching and learning, we want to make sure that we are addressing the areas of the learner-focused classroom, as well as providing choice for teacher professional development. So for our students, some amazing examples are the use of makerspaces at West Valley in their C Lab, as well as at DeVargas's Create Space. We also have classes such as the search class that is currently at Miller and Cupertino Middle School. And we also have coding and robotics in many classrooms across our district. For our staff success in this last year, we've had a lot of professional development, including a collaboration with Palo Alto Unified School District, and as well as our EdCamp Learning Day, which provided a lot of choice for our teachers to choose what they want to learn about in their professional learning. I'm going to turn it over to Mahmoud now to talk a little bit more about the analytics.
All right, good evening. Everybody likes graphs, right? So I'm going to touch on a couple of the apps that Amy mentioned about utilization, the G Suite apps. And for the G Suite apps, when we look at the numbers, for 12,000 active Drive users, that's active Drive users, that's a good percentage of our whole, between our students and staff, 12,000 users on Drive. Calendar, we have the 1,600 users, primarily our staff. And then Gmail, we have 4,800 users, so that's more than our staff. Why is that? Because we've opened up Gmail also with our middle schools now for internal use of Gmail. And Classroom, 9,000 active users on Classroom. So G Suite, it consists of one of our more heavily used apps. So it's something that we're showing as a success with, the utilization, for these apps as, something that's growing within our district. One of the next, sorry. All right, I'm going to also touch on again for Google Classroom. So this is a second slide for Classroom, which shows the 900 active Google Classrooms. What that means is what's different about that is you're talking about actual active classrooms that are created in a classroom setting. And then on top of that, you have the 9,000 users into those classrooms. So what this tells you is you have a lot of teachers, using this for within their instructional setting, and then you do have students, contributing to that application. All right, so Seesaw, Amy mentioned Seesaw and some of the utilization on Seesaw. So what Seesaw is, it's a school-wide digital portfolio solution that provides tools and provides insight to student learning and parent engagement. Okay, what that means, if you look at these numbers, so if you look at the first set of numbers on the bottom left, so 147,063 pieces of work added by students. So this thing is actually showing you actual student work coming in. So heavily used app that's only growing in the district. It's just a sample of one of the apps growing in the district. We have 527 active teachers using the application. And again, these numbers are just growing. And if you look at some of the other numbers, some of the interesting thing is you have 4,371 families engaged into this application. So it's a tool that, this is just a sample of some of the tools starting to come up where we have parent involvement and engagement into the actual students' growth, right? And that's also reflected on this chart. If you see where we stand as Cupertino for a similar sized district, you'll notice that for the number of items added, that's interesting alone by itself. But if you look at the family visits and the involvement, I mean, it seems like for a comparable district, you can see how active our families are with the students, engaged into the students' growth, right? All right, and I am going to now pass this back on to Amy.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about how our team has been utilized in support for the district. So these charts here show some of the demand for instructional technology. So I know that some of these might be a little bit hard to read, but you can see that some of the whole staff PD that we've done has been around that digital workflow to make teaching a little bit more efficient with technology, as well as Apple Classroom and Literally. As far as some of the work that's done by our coach, you can see that a lot of the focus has been around coding, Breakout EDU, various Google tools, Seesaw, and robotics. And then for our coordinator, she spent a lot of time on highlighting some of those great teaching practices in videos, as well as Literally and Google tools. Moving on to our support around assessment, you can see here that one of the popular asks is around data analysis using Who Knew It, our data warehouse, as well as report cards on Synergy and formative assessment tools. And then also with whole staff PD, same thing. Who Knew It is requested heavily, as well as formative assessment tools. Jeff is going to talk about moving forward next.
I would just add, when you look at Seesaw, it actually was driven by school site usage, and then we took over as a district purchase. Those licenses, we request a number of licenses across all 20 elementary schools. All 25 schools. It's more heavily used in elementary school, but across all our schools. And then we purchase just the number of licenses that we need for that school year. So that's how we kind of manage how many licenses we have in our system. And if we can use free apps, obviously we use free apps when possible. So moving forward, a couple things. I'm going to kind of go over just some key elements of each of these points. The first one is research and assessment. We're coming back to May with that, so I'll skip that for right now. One of the areas that we're trying to expand in digital citizenship is around the social emotional learning of our students. And so trying to find a survey that we can use as a pre and post for each school year is something we're looking at doing and adding, especially in light of everything that's going on that our students are facing today. Makerspace and coding curriculum, we have CS standards coming out in a couple years. And so taking a look at what is our environment going to look like for computer science from kindergarten through 8th grade. One of the big things, we're already a multi-platform district, but I think I just want to be clear tonight, and I hope going forward, is that we really are a multi-platform district. Yes, we have purchased iPads, and yes, we have purchased more iPads than Chromebooks. But if you look at what has been purchased district-wide, Chromebooks are being purchased, iPads are being purchased, laptops are being purchased. We're just not one only. We are for our one-to-one program, and a lot of that had to do with managing it to begin with. And the price point between a Chromebook and an iPad really isn't too different now. So it goes back to what do we need to use it for instructionally on a daily basis. And so what that's going to lead to is two things. One, the individual school plan at the bottom is really important to us because instruction has to drive where our uses of technology. And technology doesn't drive our instruction. And so as we go through that, what we're actually going to be doing is working with our principals on what are their school needs for next year. And so when we come back to you in May, we're going to come back with some numbers around that so we can be clear on what that need is across the district. And the other thing is just updating some of our classrooms. Wireless, we're always looking at upgrading it. We have 6 schools left to focus on, growing the infrastructure. And then television and projectors across the district, they've really been site-based decisions over the last few years. I think part of that leads to that inequitable conditions we're trying to avoid, where if one school has more money, they can buy more projectors and televisions. If you don't have the money, you just can't do that. You can't afford it. So we're trying to balance off those differences going forward. The other thing is, this isn't for you to necessarily read tonight. I can send it to you. You can read it in the future. But what I want to highlight is some of the work. What happened with technology in the past couple of years, there was the proliferation of apps, proliferation of licenses, devices. But what we weren't able to do is narrow back down to what do we need instructionally. And so the focus for our team going forward is looking at that K2, 3, 5, and 6A band of students. And in those bands of students, what apps are we going to use? What licenses are we going to use? What are the concepts and skills we want in our students in each of those grade levels? And so what we're trying to do to help our staff out, and our SITs out for that matter, who are working on a daily basis with our teachers, is here are some really good instructionally sound apps that are on every single device in that grade level. Then if we want to add to it, and it was 68 apps that were added this year, we can still add apps based on what teachers' needs are, but let's start with a stronger base because all this is backed by good instructional practice. Or it's a tool that benefits instruction more than another tool, and then we have the right data privacy behind it. We can pay for more of the apps that are being used across the site. And then this particular one, we need to take out to teachers. We did it based on usage across the district and based on the skills that we see are most important right now. We need teachers to review it. So after this, and by June of this year, we're going to have teachers get a chance to vet this as well. And then my last 2 things is that I want to invite you guys. We have 2 parent nights coming up this year. April 26th, Max Stossel is coming from the Center for Humane Technology. And then on Tuesday, May 15th, Angela Alvarado, who's a district attorney, is going to come and talk about technology. And obviously what our kids are facing today is a lot different than what they were facing 10 years ago. And so that parent night is really geared for parents. But it's obviously, it's also about our students that are living in a different world than I think a lot of us are probably used to. And the last part's really for you guys. So 3 things, and it doesn't have to be in any particular order. Clarifying questions, and then did this information tonight that we shared with you address a learner-focused classroom? And then if we could get some more specifics of what you'd like to see in May when we come back, that would be great as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeff and Amy and Mahmoud. Thank you for your work and for the presentation, and also for staying late tonight to present to us and be with us. So if you could stay a little bit later, that would be great, because I think we'll have some questions. So I do want to take these in order, first with clarifying questions. And for the clarifying questions, it's just going to be anything you saw in this presentation. Do you have a question about that? Something you saw in the presentation. So does anyone have a clarifying question on the presentation? Okay. Oh.
I don't know if it's...
Okay, go ahead, go for it.
So you just mentioned you just mentioned we all know, like, based on this, the content is very important, and the device, we can have an alternative option based on principal's needs. So I remember, like, last year we approved for the 4 years lease for the iPad. So if no matter what, we will still finish those 4 years lease.
So are we talking about that? That's not part of this presentation.
But it's, because I kind of confused, like, if that will change based on principal's needs.
Although that's what we'll bring back, though, right?
Yes, that is what we're going to...
Right, so that is a future
yeah.
agenda item that we will bring exactly.
And I think we're all concerned about that, but not tonight. So
I think that would be on question 3, and we can definitely bring that information back to you.
Okay.
That will be before May, right? Because the next item is the May for research and assessment. So would that be part of that, or it will be before?
I actually think we're going to do some, it'll be both, because we need to have multiple budget-related conversations moving forward, right? From this point until June 14th, when we pass the budget, we have to have a lot of conversations about the budget, and part of that will entail, so what about that technology budget? So we will have those conversations in that context, but we'll also focus on it in May specifically on top of that. Okay.
So thank you. And I forgot, I did ask you that question this morning, and he did say we'll be discussing it in the budget meetings and the upcoming meetings. So yeah, Liang?
So one of the chart has the professional development, the teacher professional development in different areas. I'm wondering how, after they took the class, what's the percentage of them actually using those apps and things that they learned in those 2 days of professional development? Do you have statistics on that?
I don't have statistics for every single teacher after they went to ed camp. What we do know is teachers are still going. So every teacher that went to the ed camp in middle school, we created an individual page for them. People are still going onto those pages that has all the ideas of what they can bring back to their classroom. So what we do know is they're still using the information that they learned that day. What it looks like in every single classroom, I don't have that. We can ask that question, but we do know that those pages created are still being used.
So, like, would they get continuous mentor, I guess, check back every 1 month, 2 months, how they are doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the concept that's so important about Ed Camp is the fact that you're building relationships with your colleagues. And so it's not so much about what's coming back from our PD, it's about what they're doing in the classroom on a daily basis and how they're growing professionally in their classroom. So it's not tied back to what we're specifically doing, but it's the fact that you are taking what you're learning, applying it to your classroom. Some of it might happen the next day, some of it might take time to grow to, but it's not necessarily so much like we're going to target a specific PD.
So is there possible we can kind of track how
we can take a look.
how they are using the new skills they learn?
I guess, didn't you say you were going to do a survey?
We are doing a survey. We can think about the way to frame that question out for teachers that went to Ed Camp.
If I could,
Yes,
I just
please.
want to suggest that those are actually, that would be a great thing for us to track. It's an excellent question. It would be helpful, I think, if after tonight or while we're here tonight, if you jotted those down and sent anything that you're thinking, could we track this? Could we track that?
Maybe like
Could we
a
ask
follow-up
Yeah.
questionnaire in a month or two,
Yeah.
like
So
that.
any ideas you have, maybe we do that, because I fear we're gonna spend too much time here now, but we want those kind of questions, because those are excellent questions.
So are you suggesting what you have out here is that we just, if we have any of the 1, 2, and 3, we just kind of send it back to you, give us a time frame?
No, it's more in relation
On
to
3.
3, really, yeah, like if you have specific questions that weren't actually presented here, but you think it would be good to follow up and have more data on, we'd love to see those.
So do you want to put a deadline on it, because staff would need time to put it together?
By midnight?
Hey, I'm
I
making
pick a
the
time,
rules
you
here.
pick a day.
A week.
That's good,
No,
that's good,
How
yeah.
about a week?
A week.
That's
Okay.
great.
I do have 3
Hold on,
questions.
okay.
I'm not sure it's proper, so.
Okay, no,
guys-
Liang, do you have 3 more questions that are related to this presentation? Questions
Yeah,
about this
I'm-
presentation? Okay, then go for it.
Well, I'm not sure when we are going, when we are going to talk about whether we should review iPad should take home or not, because at least 2 middle school principals have told me there's
And so that's not on this presentation right
So
now.
when will we consider those
Future
things?
agenda.
That will be.
I'll ask that
future
in
agenda.
the
Yeah, and we can talk
future
about that.
agenda
That's
item.
good.
Okay,
And
so
then,
what's the second one?
The principals, in the past, principals can only get iPad from the district. So have we now relaxed that
That was
policy so they can choose any device?
Also not on the
Is that
agenda right now.
part of?
That's not true either. They actually can purchase Chromebooks. We have school sites that purchase Chromebooks,
Oh.
as an example.
Because some principal told me they had to use PTA money if they want Chromebook.
So
that's not the case.
Okay, so let's point of order and stay on
All
this.
right.
So is the third one about this
Then-
presentation?
Then the third question is, I'm curious, what challenges do you see that we have in implementing the technology in classroom that you think we should look forward and try to conquer?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think the biggest thing for us is the professional development piece going forward with our teachers. I think there's so much that's coming on our teachers right now. We see it every time we go to a school site. More and more comes from the state, more responsibility put on them. I think what we're looking for is how can we use technology to free up some of that time in a really good way for teachers so that allows them to get back to really teaching more. One of the biggest areas that we're focusing on right now is the formative assessment piece. In particular, the reading assessments are one area that I think we could take a look at. And I think anything we can do where we can get more data points for our students is also a challenge for us. I mean, there's so much information out there that I think we can use to drive instruction more across the district. I don't know if you guys want to add anything to that.
Okay, thank you. So for anyone else with clarifying questions on the presentation? Okay, so let's address number 2. Did we, as in the 3 of them, provide you the information you were seeking with regards to the alignment of the learner-focused classroom? Do you feel satisfied? Okay, yeah, everyone's satisfied?
I'm not really, but I already commented to Craig. I would like to see, because the data now we see is how often the teachers get the professional development, but how that actually affect the learners, I still don't see that data. And how skilled our teachers are in all those skills. What's our level, what's the percentage of teachers who are very familiar with the technology versus the percentage of teachers who are still uncomfortable. It will take some time, how much time it takes for them to feel comfortable. So we have equitable access for students to technology savvy teachers. I think some students might be lucky they get a really technology savvy teacher, but some are not. What's our roadmap to get all the teachers together a certain level? So that's what I'm not seeing. I'm hoping to see. That should be in May, right?
Yeah, exactly. What we talked about is that is exactly what we're going to do for May, and that's those are the kinds of questions we definitely want to address by then. Yeah. What I call outcome data. We're giving you output, things you did, things that got done, things that were achieved. But next is going to look at actual outcome, student outcome, teacher outcome. Yeah.
Okay, so should we agree number 3 then? We'll email our questions to Craig, and he can give us 1 week from now. So there's a board meeting next Tuesday night. So before you come to the board meeting, if you have things you want to see, then email them to Craig and he'll forward it to the technology team.
Okay, but this is not for next meeting. This is for the.
No, so that they can get ready for it by May.
Got it.
And then Craig, I hope, I do have the same questions as Kristen and Liang, but I didn't want to ask them tonight, but you're going to at some point come back with the budget item that Kristen discussed. And what Liang said is what's happening with who's checking out overnight iPads and what principals are allowed to do. Okay, all right.
And we'll pace that out when we do our meeting about agenda meetings coming up. We
do talk about those. Okay. Amy and Mahmood, thank you again so very much, and Jeff as well. Okay, so 6.3 is a discussion still, which is resolution number 171819, establishing Cupertino Union District's preschool and before and after care program. And I think we did see this in information last time. Yeah. So now it's just in discussion. So
Right, so at the last February 27th, when we shared with you the assumptions,
Yeah.
we attached it as an item, but we didn't have an opportunity to discuss it or entertain any questions.
Yeah.
And then depending on the discussion today, we'll decide whether or not we bring it back to the next meeting for approval. So it's really for you.
Okay. So anyone want to
I
say
just
something?
have a question. I agree with everything that's in this, but my question is, why do we need a resolution to do this?
We don't. It's just sort of a practice in case people are for prosperity are looking for what was the purpose behind that, what was, you know, it just clarifies for community what's the purpose. It's also, I think for us it's partially important because we don't want it to seem that it's everything is driven by it being a fee for service profit thing for the district, but in fact it has educational purpose, preschool, enrichment, et cetera. So it kind of clarifies that to people who are trying to figure out, well, why are you doing that really? And it's our statement of why we're doing it.
So my take is I'm not big on resolutions. I think we can do that in another way. Okay. I just, as I say, agree with it. I think it's a great way that we should go. I'm not sure the resolution is the way we should go.
Leslie, is there anything within the licensing or anything that we have to worry about a resolution per se?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
I can go double check, but I do not think so.
So could it be a policy?
It wouldn't be part of a policy or
It could just
regulation.
be a part of a handbook that is
The board
broad,
supports.
that you simply say, give direction, say, yeah, that looks good, that it describes it, that, we could probably do something like that.
But, you know, Phyllis, sometimes we take resolutions to mean only one thing. Resolutions could be multiple things, and this could be, you know, just kind of a
Yeah.
direction thing.
So would this be possible, Craig, is we don't need this approved as a resolution for any reason. And we are gonna have a conversation about resolutions at an upcoming meeting, because we need to do that. So can we just put this off?
Yeah.
And know that we agree with this direction? Everyone agree, we better agree with this direction,
I
because
hope so.
running full speed ahead, yeah. So we'll figure out a way, either in our resolution conversation, otherwise somewhere to put this, but we're gonna table that for now. Is everyone feeling okay with that? Okay. Okay.
Table or anything, just move on.
No, just, yeah, not table,
Because there's
sorry.
no
Grab,
action.
table, I'm using all the wrong words tonight. Yes, we're not tabling, we're just moving on to 6.4, board policy. I can't even say this without smiling. Okay, unmanned aircraft systems and drones. First reading on this. We're covering every topic tonight. So we would, anyone who, oh, there's a presentation?
No, there's not a
No, no, okay,
presentation.
okay.
I don't have a presentation for this one.
You're gonna fly something over my head for the, yeah. So discussion, would anyone like
I
to
would just,
say?
if I may, just, if I can introduce it really fast for Leslie and I, you know, I think the one thing that I would like you guys to be aware of, if we do get a number of requests every year for drones to be flown at our schools, particularly at graduation time or taking pictures of the student body. And it's one of those areas we do not have any policy in place. And I think part of it is because technology generally moves faster than board policies. And I do think there is a piece to it that we look at data privacy in terms of taking the picture, the media opt-out and directory opt-out, but we don't have a policy regarding drones specifically. So that's the context of it.
And remind us, where did the impetus for this come in terms of legal?
Yeah, so we had two different law firms that actually gave us advice that we should have a drone policy. With that being said, there's not as intensive of a policy out there in any school district, and so we've been actually trying to find one that would work for us, and this is one of the ones that I think works best for what our needs are here right now.
And CSBA doesn't have any suggestions.
No.
So we're pioneers in the drone policy. Okay, so we do have, before we get into discussion on being pioneers, we have a comment from Mark Lundy about this item, 6.4. 3 minutes, my friend.
I'll be briefer.
Okay.
Mark Lowndy, Instructional Technology Specialist at Vargas Elementary School. We've got a pretty broad use of robotics in our elementary schools and middle schools, and that familiarizes a lot of our students with the X and Y axis of their environment. A lot of the applications we use are now allowing us to use drones, small drones, to familiarize them with the Z axis. And I just want to make sure that page 2, guideline number 1, does not prevent us from acquiring appropriate equipment to support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. So any discussion on this, or we can bring it back?
Well, I have to say, when I first read it, I thought, now why in the world are we doing this? But now that I hear what Jeff is saying, I know that if we don't have board policies about these things and people call with questions, and then you don't have anything to back up what decision you're making. So I would like Mark's question to be addressed, but I would also like to say that it sounds like we need it.
So we bring it back next time? Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have a comment. I mentioned this policy doesn't seem to cover the case if it's someone outside of the school flying an unmanned airplane over our school property. It doesn't say that's forbidden, and what's the policy that we should govern? They shouldn't enter our airspace or something. It seems to be it seems to be focused on if we have students who want to operate or a teacher, what happens. So I don't know if we should be protecting our airspace because it's also privacy of our students if someone flies something over.
Do we agree with
We
that?
did talk about, we've actually been looking for that too. I agree, it doesn't necessarily call that out specifically. Our focus really to start off was the vendor role with it. We do think it lends itself to somebody coming and asking permission. It's also trying to match up to what's in our city currently.
Can we make it a little bit more clear that if someone wants to fly over our airspace, they should get permission?
We can take a look at that.
Stronger.
Sure.
So maybe we can just get rid of unmanned. So it's all kind of aircraft.
No, you can't. How can you regulate airspace
Airplane
for
just
airplane?
fly over.
And then the distance, something like that.
Oh.
Wait, take out what word?
Unmanned.
Where is it?
Take out
Unmanned.
unmanned, that's all
Unmanned.
aircraft.
The whole thing is an unmanned.
But it's all about
No, but the
unmanned. We don't-
drone is unmanned.
Yeah.
She's talking about whether it's students and teachers, operator, or
To me,
or
it talks about
outside.
everybody.
Yeah.
I think it's, I don't necessarily agree, Liang. I think anybody who wanted to fly something over the school would be affected by this policy.
Because it says individuals, right? Isn't that everybody?
Right. I do believe, we had this exact same conversation today, and then Jeff and I talked about it.
Yeah.
I do think that it's worthwhile to take the time to just, as we do with other policies, break it out in terms of school-related activity. Here's how these things apply versus outside, or some neighbor, somebody is flying one over, and
We can do an amendment
the truth is that will go
We can do amendment
into
regulation.
mostly an AR. What we do about that, but I think stating clearly which things apply to everybody, which ones are meant really for how you do like school-related activity where you're doing drone versus some stranger. You notice, like, what do you do when you say, wait a minute, where's that drone coming from and who's taking pictures of our kids, right? What do we do? And I think there should be something that we investigate, that we do call the sheriff, we'll identify, right? I mean, there are things we should do. So I do believe there's something we can do to make it useful and clear now while we investigate, well, what are all the layers that are in this, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So, and as technology changes, we'll probably have to re-update this some point, but is everyone good with this for now? They're gonna bring it back as is?
Right,
I
because
like
the
to
AR
I would actually like to bring
no,
it back with some
but
edits
some-
that break out with a little bit more clarity about what groups, who's
yeah.
using it, what situation. Not a lot, just flesh it out a little
Right,
bit.
okay.
So we're clear when it just says people who, are we talking about all people, or is
Okay.
that more staff, or what
Okay.
is it?
And
So we'll
make
bring it
sure that
back as
For
a-
instructional purposes, we're not being too restrictive in terms of the instructional program.
Well, the one reference, though, is only saying it's about purchasing. And I do think that it says superintendent or designee. We don't expend school funds without, the principal or, somebody is approving that. So I don't actually, that's true in other cases. I'm not sure, so we can talk. I'm not sure what the fear is of that, because it is always true that you go through a budget and it's either district budget or it's a site budget to purchase those.
One
Yeah,
more
go ahead.
question. But every board policy is also has an AR with it, right? So then that's how it governs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's how it clears the thing. So some of the things can be covered under the AR segment also, right? To make it even more clear
Yeah.
for.
Well, it's either that, or sometimes you don't have a board policy and all you have is an AR. And so what we might do, that's what I'm saying, this might be better suited to just be an AR, so that we have regulations that people can go to and understand how we do it. Maybe it's not so much a philosophical policy-based thing. So that's what I think we need to look at.
Okay. And so if you do bring it back, Jeff, either then put it as a discussion item, action, so that we can see it again.
Discussion
Yeah,
action, yeah.
because we can look at it again with the new wording. Yeah, Leanne.
One more point. Not sure if it's relevant, but for safety reason, I think I should mention it. We just had an evacuation in Cupertino High, and I mentioned that what if there is a aircraft landed in our school property? Unknown.
Aircraft, or do you mean a drone?
Unmanned, and droid, yeah, a droid that landed. Should our policy say that no one should touch it, call police, or is that, do we need to have that policy or not? I don't know. I
did
thought
write that down, so
we should
we'll
mention
consider
that.
that.
Okay, I think we're good with that item. So the next section, discussion action items. If we follow the Roberts rules, since they're discussion action, anyone can make a motion for these items, and then motion in a second, and then we'll always have a question for any further discussion.
I move that we approve the job descriptions for the director, instructional leadership and intervention, and for the instructional coach.
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Renee, Phyllis made the motion. Liang second. 5-0 vote. Okay, next one. Approval of salary schedule for the enterprise programs. Do I have a motion?
I move 7.2 approval of salary schedules for the enterprise programs.
I have a second.
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay. Renee, do you get it? Kristen made the motion. Who seconded?
Anjali.
Anjali second. 5-0 vote. Okay. Election requirement preferences. I think, okay, well, can I?
We can just start by.
Yeah, talking. Yeah, we don't, yeah. So anyone want to start discussing?
Well, I was just going to make a motion to keep it the way it is and not make any changes. I think it's worked for us. I don't know if we need to. So I would move it not to make any changes. I don't know if we need a motion on that or not.
Yeah, we can take a motion, right?
Does anyone have any?
Or is this
So, go
even
ahead.
something?
So you would make a motion to go
Keep
as
the
before,
bylaws.
numbers 1 through 5, like it's on the executive summary? Okay.
In the bylaws, like it reads in our bylaws.
So here it says a board resolution is required, so are we just giving you, we don't make a motion, we're just giving you approval to make a
We fill out the
resolution?
form.
Okay, so it's not a resolution, it's a form that you're gonna fill out.
Right, I think there's something.
We did have a resolution
It's a
last time.
resolution. Okay.
It was resolution 151622 that we had
Okay.
last time. And what it does is it just captures, it answers the questions 1 through 5 into the resolution.
Okay, so we have a motion for the resolution from Anjali to keep it as is. Do we have a second?
I second.
Phyllis, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, Renee, Anjali made the motion, Phyllis second, 5-0 vote.
Can I add, Jeff, what is our timeline for getting this one in? Do you know, to the elections office?
We haven't heard from the registrar's office at this point. We actually had to call out to them to find out if we could get a little more details around that. But we do not know at this point. They said early spring.
I would just sort of, for cleanliness of process, if there is time between now and then, I would prefer to bring the actual resolution itself with this embedded in it, so when you're because you're kind of voting on a
Right,
resolution
right,
that's not in front of you,
right.
even though you already saw it. The intent is the same, it's these 5 things, so it's really not an issue, I don't think, but.
Well, we have a board meeting next
Well,
Tuesday,
and
Jeff.
it's going to come straight out of our board policy.
No, the policy doesn't, it shouldn't be, I'll look at that,
Well,
but.
it says, our policy is quoted here. Well, now I've lost it.
It says
No,
policy
the-
9220.
Yeah, yes, but
Bylaws.
those things state the person has to be 18 years old, the citizenship. It doesn't say how the officers are to be selected, because you're asked to say that each time there's an election, how many words are on the ballot.
The 200.
Right,
But
those
I
things.
think it says all that here. Tie votes will be decided by a runoff, candidates be responsible for the full cost. Statements limited to 200 words. Candidates required to pay in advance for all costs.
I
Doesn't that
still
answer
believe
all
that
the questions?
Phyllis, I think the protocol is that that the election office sends to us, you have to do this when you're doing the election. We have to
Even if
answer-
you have a board policy.
And because you have the right to say, no, we think it should be 400 words. You have the right to change those things, so if you wanted to do that, now would be the time. So if you were to change it, we would then go into the bylaws and change them along with that change. So we're
So the
just-
resolution expire every 2 years.
Every election.
Every election.
Okay, so we already approved that action, so we're done. So we're on
No,
to
no, he's bringing it back.
No,
He
no,
said.
Well, no,
right, yeah, no, I
What
know.
said is you-
Time.
you
Yeah,
took
right.
action, so I can use it in case there's
Yeah.
a time crunch, but if not, I think just for
So it
cleanliness.
just be next
But we
Tuesday.
have it next week. We have
We
a
have
board
a
meeting.
meeting
Yeah.
next week.
No, I meant, I agreed,
Yeah.
but we'll bring it back and we're done talking about it. Okay. So, sorry. Moving along, because we still have closed session tonight. Action 8.1, adopt resolution number 171815, call for full and fair funding of California public schools. Do I have a motion?
I move 8.1.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is that you, Kristen? Liang, okay. Liang, second. All those in, any further action? Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so Anjali made the motion, Liang made the second, 5-0 vote. Okay, board and superintendent activity. Anyone?
So I went to the Cupertino Safe Route meeting. This time they try to engage the community and even children. So they have the community visioning workshop to have kids and the community build out what a safe route might be for school. But it wasn't very well advertised and attended. Then they had a lot of fun things, all kinds of fun things kids can build, bridges and buffers between bikes and vehicles. A good attempt, but I hope we can help them do more advertisement next time. Yeah, and then I visited Dilworth and Eaton. Yeah, had a good time.
Anyone else want to share anything?
I finished school visits today. Done all 25, so delighted to see what all of our kids are doing and how well things are moving along in the schools. And then we recently had a 2x2x2 meeting, which means we met with Los Altos and Sunnyvale City Council. Not much new to report there. It was pretty much updates on their ongoing things that they're doing to help us with student safety.
Anyone else, including Craig, want to share anything?
Well, I just want to, I sent a email earlier today regarding the Asian Parents Association. They have a spring luncheon coming up, and the keynote speaker actually is from Stanford, and it's talking about for the youth, the mental health, and I think that will be very useful for to serve our students. So I encourage everybody join with me.
Thursday, Leslie and I and some principals, and I don't know who else are going to the Project Cornerstone breakfast. And
Liang's coming.
And Leanne.
Craig.
And Leanne. Okay, so anyone else? Craig, anyone want to share anything else?
I'll just say I got to be a judge at the science fair at Muir and Debbie Lopez's class, and I was the best judge they ever had, I can tell you that. And it was a lot of fun. And I do want to give a big shout out to Leslie, who met with, how many people today in your panel?
18.
How many?
18.
18 people showed up to be on the preschool advisory, and she had a powerhouse group of people in that room.
They were
And some
amazing.
people just, she cold writ to them and just said, hey, but I really want you to come, are you willing? And they showed, and you could see they had a really active, engaged several hours together. So congratulations on that. It's really important to have that set of people who are experts in the field. And included, half of them probably were our staff, and the other half were outside folks. So.
Good job, Leslie. Okay, future agenda items. I think we've had some come up in the conversation. Did you capture everything?
Oh my gosh, I got so many things down here.
Okay.
But yes, I have them all.
We'll be meeting 24 hours a day. Okay, does anyone have any new ones that We didn't
So-
capture,
So one is iPad discussion, right? Whether
Yes.
we
Yeah.
continue to take them home or not. And another one I mentioned to Craig earlier this morning is I hope to look at our board of policy in terms of how we approve supplemental curriculum that's mandated by the state. For example, the human growth curriculum or any other that might come up. So, because supplemental right now doesn't need board approval. So I think when it's mandated by the states,
If
a
it's
lot
only
of
for
times it
agenda, it
might
should
be
be point of order.
commercial.
yeah,
Okay.
thank
can't
you,
get in
Anjali. Just
discussion
say the
about it.
item, but no facts.
Okay.
And you've already told Craig, so he got it,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Okay, thank you for pointing that out, Anjali. Okay, anyone else with future agenda items?
So
Okay, so I just want to say something before we go to closed session. Oh, and do we have any public comments on the closed session? No, okay. Before we go to closed session, just line up at Renee's desk and sign whatever is needed to be signed. And then don't go into Never Never Land, but go straight to closed session so that we
You
can
want to
get out
just
of.
pass it down, so we don't even.
No, because people
Not
start
everybody-
disappearing and it's really hard. So our new protocol is gonna be line up there, sign your thing, and then you can go into the closed session. We're gonna try that, because when she comes to our desk, people don't seem to be there. Okay, so are we adjourning to closed session, even though we're?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're adjourning to closed session at 9:15. Okay, tell me when. Okay, 9:24, we are reconvening from closed session. We have nothing to report. And 9:24, meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thank you. See you next Tuesday.